My husband became a vegetable after a car accident, and my mother-in-law would rather let him die than spend money to save him. My heart ached for my husband, and I was overwhelmed with grief. After borrowing from every relative on my side of the family, I exhausted all our savings and even took out a high-interest loan to pay for his treatment. In the end, we managed to save his life. The first thing he did after waking up was to ask for a divorce, saying he'd already died once and didn't want to hold back anymore. He was going to pursue true love. I just found out that he was in the car accident to buy a Valentine's Day gift to please his mistress. Once again, I called my mother-in-law, and she said, "I don't have any money. He's your husband. If he dies, you'll be a widow. Go ahead and mourn him." Holding the phone to my ear, I said to the doctor, "We're out of money. Pull the tube. We've talked it over. We're stopping treatment." "Is this a family member of Yang Wei?" "This is Jiangyi." Hospital. "He was involved in a serious car accident and is currently being treated here. Please come to the hospital immediately, as a family member's signature is required for the emergency treatment." When I opened my eyes again, I was back in time to the day my husband had the accident, right at the moment the hospital called. In my past life, when the hospital called, I rushed over without even tying my shoelaces. After 2 days of emergency treatment following the car accident, the doctors declared brain death. Continuing treatment would mean facing astronomical medical bills. The best possible outcome would have been a vegetative state, merely sustaining vital signs while waiting for a miracle. In a situation like that, no one could stand by and watch their life partner die right before their eyes without lifting a finger to help. I didn't hesitate to choose to continue the life-saving treatment, and I used every last bit of my own money to pay for it. It was painfully obvious that the little money I had was a drop in the bucket. Yang Wei is a mama's boy. The house we live in is under his mother's name, and he gives most of his monthly income to her. I begged his mother to use her money to save him. After all, there are countless cases of people waking up from a vegetative state, and money is never more important than a person's life. I was absolutely floored when my mother-in-law said, "Where would an old woman like me get that kind of money? He's your husband, not mine. If you want to save him, you save him. I don't have the money, and I'm not giving you a cent." I never imagined she could say something so heartless. They say a parent's love is unconditional, but what's worse, Yang Wei is such a mama's boy who does everything she says. How could she be willing to let her own son die? I thought she was just bluffing. True to her word, my mother-in-law really did wash her hands of the whole affair. She even took to feigning illness, staying home every day to stew pigeons and recuperate, refusing to even go to the hospital. My heart sank for Yang Wei. It felt so unfair. The mother he loved most would rather let him die than loosen her grip on the money to save him. At that time, I had no idea he was keeping a mistress, let alone that he was in a car accident while rushing to buy a Qixi festival gift for her. So when I saw my mother-in-law only cared about money and didn't care if he lived or died, I was heartbroken and deeply saddened for a long time. Then I spent all my fortune to save him. I didn't have enough money, so I went ahead and borrowed from my parents and relatives on my mother's side. No shame, no hesitation. I even took out a high-interest loan. After all, in the face of life and death, everything else is trivial. I'll borrow the money first. Once he wakes up, he can go retrieve the funds he left with his mother. If it's still not enough, we'll work together to earn the rest and pay it back. As long as we have our health, we can always earn the money back. Every day, I went to the hospital on time to bring him nutritious porridge, massaged his body as the doctor recommended, and kept him company with conversation, hoping he would wake up soon. Perseverance paid off. After 6 months of my care, Yang Wei miraculously regained consciousness. I was overjoyed, yet the first thing he did upon waking was to ask me for a divorce. I was utterly thunderstruck and completely stunned, thinking his mind must still be muddled from just waking up. Then he said that after facing death, he realized life is short. He no longer wanted to suppress his feelings or live a lukewarm, passionless life with me. He was determined to bravely pursue true love. I never imagined that my all-out effort to save him would be reduced to the lukewarm life he spoke of. I couldn't accept this sudden blow, but I still held on to hope for him, comforting myself that he had just recovered from a serious illness and his harsh words were just a result of his poor mood. But I never expected he would start laying hands on me. After that first slap, the domestic violence became endless. He even had the audacity to bring his mistress into our home. It finally dawned on me that he had been seeing the other woman for a long time. He got into a car accident because his mistress was upset that he hadn't divorced his wife decisively. While trying to calm her down and driving to buy her a gift, he lost focus and crashed into a truck. Unable to bear the humiliation, I agreed to the divorce. During the divorce, he promised that he would repay the money I borrowed to save him, but after the divorce, he suddenly turned against me. saying the money was borrowed by me, so I should pay it back myself, and adding that he never asked me to help, so why should he be responsible for repaying it? He never agreed to take on all this debt or borrow this money, why should he have to pay it back? It wasn't until that moment that I realized he had tampered with the divorce agreement, taking advantage of my desperate state, so worn down by his affair, that I had overlooked the details in my rush to be done with it. He set me up with a few traps, and I fell right into them. I never imagined someone could stoop so low, especially when it's the wife who once saved his life. That massive debt, the one that saved his life, was dumped squarely on my shoulders, and Yang Wei is a total mama's boy. The house we lived in was under his mother's name, and the bulk of his salary went straight to her. When we divorced, I didn't get a single cent. There was no way I could come up with the money to pay off the debt I was saddled with. After finding out about my divorce, my relatives immediately came knocking to demand money, some of which my parents had even helped me borrow, and they wouldn't let my parents go. Every day, a crowd of people comes to our house demanding repayment. My mother, who has a heart condition, has been rushed to the hospital several times. From the stress, my father, humiliated in front of our relatives, has become incredibly irritable. Once, in a fit of rage, he impulsively went to attack Yang Wei with a knife, but failed to harm him and instead was arrested by the police, resulting in 15 days of administrative detention. The house was in complete disarray, a mess from top to bottom. I couldn't change my situation, cried every day, and developed severe depression. Less than a year after my divorce, I jumped to my death. Yet Yang Wei, who suffers from infertility, married his pregnant mistress and even had a lovely son with her. The mother-in-law was overjoyed, and the whole family happily lived together, stepping on my blood-soaked bread. I suppose their family went too far, so much so that even heaven couldn't stand it anymore, and that's why I was given this chance to start over. So when I got the call, I didn't rush to the hospital right away. I gave the doctor my mother-in-law's phone number instead. I cried and said I was on my way to the hospital from out of town and asked my mother-in-law to go ahead and sign first. I won't pay a single cent in this lifetime. After hanging up with the hospital, I immediately called my mother-in-law. She was crying and yelling at me, "Your husband's in a car accident and is being rushed to the ER. How can you still be on a business trip? I'm going to sign the papers first, tell the doctors to save him, and you need to come back and pay the money. My pockets are empty." I could tell my mother-in-law was nervous, so much so that the table even toppled over. She was worried about her son's life, but she just knew I'd be the one to foot the bill. She was counting on me to be the sucker. In my past life, I rushed to the hospital right away and didn't even notice these details. "Mom, you pay first, and I'll have Yang Wei give you the money later. My bank cards are all with Yang Wei. I don't have any cash on me." She cries. "I'll cry too. What's the big deal? Anyone can cry. But you want me to pay?" Not a chance. I rummaged through the entire house, gathered all the bank cards, and secured them in my bag. Then, through tears, I went to find the police and traffic officers. I had them retrieve and copy the dashcam footage from Yang Wei's accident. Using my ID, I collected his smashed phone from the police and took it to a repair shop. Only then, with red-rimmed eyes, did I rush to the hospital. He had already been in resuscitation for over 3 hours by the time I arrived. I wasn't there, so my mother-in-law had already paid an initial round of fees, and he had been moved to the ICU. She was still guarding the door. The moment she saw me, she raised her hand and slapped me. "Your own husband is in trouble, and you show up this late. What kind of wife are you? I'm telling you, if anything happens to Wei, you'll have me to answer to." After a lifetime of it, I've grown accustomed to her habit of casually pinning blame on me. I stayed silent and let her berate me. Arguing back would only fuel her fire. Compared to the domestic violence I endured in my past life, this slap was nothing. Seeing I didn't argue back, my mother-in-law visibly relaxed, though her face remained stern. "You stay here and look after Alwei. I'm going home. I just paid 10,000 yuan, so that's enough for today. Remember to pay me back when Alwei wakes up." "Mom, Alwei is fighting for his life. How can you be thinking about getting money back right now? My mind is a complete mess. Alwei manages his own money. I have no idea where he keeps it. I admit I did it on purpose. I made a scene and cried loudly on purpose, so the doctors and nurses in the hospital would hear. I wanted everyone to know it was his mother who was clinging to her money and unwilling to save him, not me." Gossip and cyberbullying. I had more than my fill of that in my last life. I don't want to go through that again in this one. "Mom, for years now, Awei's salary has basically all gone to you, while mine has covered all our household expenses. How about this? You give Awei's salary back to him to pay for his medical bills, and I'll use my money to take care of him. This time it's really serious. He'll need proper nourishment and rest. He won't recover without months of convalescence. I'll personally look after him, his money for treatment, my money for living expenses. What do you think, Mom? A crowd of patients' relatives had gathered at the hospital entrance. The kind of people who love nothing more than a spectacle. The moment I finished speaking, every single one of them turned to stare at my mother-in-law. Some even started muttering, in this day and age, a married son still has to hand over his paycheck. How on earth does the poor kid get by? That poor girl, she gets married and ends up having to support her husband. No wonder young women these days don't want to get married. The mother-in-law was fuming. What do you know? I raised my son from a boy to a man. What's wrong with him letting his own mother manage his salary now that he's grown? That's called knowing how to be grateful. What are you all blathering about? Grumbling under her breath, the mother-in-law said they were just jealous of her son's filial piety because they couldn't bear sons themselves. Then she stormed off with a face like thunder. She was absolutely certain that as long as I was there, I would definitely save her son. I didn't talk back, just stood there quietly. After all, he's in the ICU where family can't stay, and they won't declare him brain dead and a vegetable until tomorrow. The doctor offered a few words of comfort, told me to go home and rest, and said they'd call the family if anything happened. I just needed to keep my phone on. As soon as I left the hospital, I took my husband's phone and started compiling all the call records between him and his mistress. As for the woman he cheated with, I know her too. It's his colleague, Su Fong. Judging from their explicit chat history, Su Fong was already 1 month pregnant at that point. I still have her on WeChat. In my past life, when Yang Wei was hospitalized, she even visited him on behalf of the company. Like a fool, I thought she was a reliable colleague. She still doesn't know that I'm aware they were having an affair, treating me like a sucker to save the father of her child. I quickly snapped a photo I took of Yang Wei in the ICU yesterday, tubes all over him, and posted it on my Moments with the caption, "Don't worry, I'll definitely convince Mom to use the money to save you. You will recover. Hang in there, honey." The post was visible only to Su Fong and my mother-in-law. I wanted them to see my determination to save Yang Wei, so I could keep up the act and refuse to hand over the money. I went to the hospital early the next day and was already there waiting before they even called me. After all, I knew this guy was about to be brain dead. Sure enough, not long after I arrived, the ICU doctor on duty rushed out to find me. The situation was critical. He needed emergency surgery immediately, and there was no guarantee he'd make it. The exact same spiel as in my last life. The doctor called me in for a talk. Through tears, I said we had to try to save him no matter what. I begged for a few hours' grace on the payment. My husband's money was all with his mother. I promised that as soon as I could discuss it with her and the money arrived, we'd pay the emergency fees right away. I called my mother-in-law right in front of them, but she hung up on me immediately. Then I used the hospital's landline to call her again. She picked up instantly, and before I could even speak, her anxious voice came through the line. "Doctor, how is my son? He's going to be okay, right? Wei is already brain dead. The hospital needs the family's decision. If you want them to continue resuscitation, you need to pay the emergency fees right now. Mom, please bring Yang Lin's money to the hospital to save him." I cut her off, sobbing uncontrollably. I was standing right at the nurse's station making this call, surrounded by doctors and nurses, with patients coming and going. A few of them had already discreetly started recording the scene on their phones. Hearing I was at the hospital, my mother-in-law on the other end of the line audibly sighed with relief. She knows me too well. She was certain I wouldn't abandon Yan Lin in a situation like this, and she was absolutely right. In my past life, I was completely trapped by this very dynamic, which ultimately drove me to a dead end, just as I thought. Uxian, what are you implying? You're still young, and you already want to sponge off your parents. Yang Wei is your husband, not mine. It's you, his wife, who should be selling everything you own and borrowing money to save him, not me, an old woman with no ability to work. If you have no money, go borrow some. You're young. Are you really afraid you won't be able to pay it back? The moment I asked her to bring the money, she flew off the handle, pulling that shrewish act. Even though I couldn't put the call on speakerphone, if this goes to court, all call recordings can be subpoenaed as evidence. I've taken enough hits in my past life. It's their turn now. Mom, are you saying you won't use the money Wei left with you for his medical treatment? Where would an old woman like me get money? Let me tell you, I have no money to give, only my life. If anything happens to Wei, I'll die with him. You can just wait to become a widow and mourn him a widow. Once he's dead, I'll find myself a whole string of boyfriends. I'll make sure his grave is greener than a meadow. Me, stay a widow. He can keep dreaming. Alright, I understand. Rubbing my reddened eyes, I kept the phone to my ear and, choking back sobs, cried out to the doctor, "Doctor, my mother-in-law says we're out of money, so we've decided to stop treatment. We've agreed, please remove the breathing tube, to see him off properly." I requested permission from the doctor to personally go into the ICU and remove the breathing tube, to accompany him on his final journey to sign here. When the doctor pushed the consent form toward me, I hung up the phone and quickly signed my name, agreeing to discontinue treatment. I followed the doctor into the ICU and personally removed, one by one, the tubes connected to Yang Wei. I watched coldly as the number on Yang Wei's heart monitor dropped to 0. The sweet satisfaction of revenge washed over me, drowning out the fears of my past life. From now on, there would be no more demons in this world. I knew my mother-in-law was rushing to the hospital, but it was too late. I even sent her a WeChat message with a photo of Yang Wei. "The tubes pulled out. You wouldn't give up the money. You drove your own son to his death. Are you happy now? You clung to his money and refused to save him. Even as a ghost, he will never forgive you." After sending the message, the whole process was complete. I sat slumped quietly outside the ICU, listening as the doctor pronounced Yang Wei dead, and then watched them cover him with a white sheet. "Who told you to pull the tube?" Just as they were wheeling the body to the morgue, the mother-in-law arrived in a furious rush. Unfortunately, she was a step too late. The moment she saw the body, the mother-in-law's face went deathly pale. She was utterly stunned, her legs gave way, and she collapsed to the floor. She stood there, frozen in shock for a full 3 minutes. Then, she threw herself onto Yang Wei's lifeless body, clutching him as she broke down into heart-wrenching sobs. "My son, how could you die? How could you leave your mother all alone in this world?" After her crying fit, she suddenly bared her teeth and lunged at me to strike. I sidestepped, narrowly avoiding her. You gave up on trying to save my son. That's murder. Now he's dead. You give me back my son. Pay for what you've done." The mother-in-law was acting like a hysterical woman, making a loud and noisy scene. "Was it me who gave up, Mom? Wasn't it you? I called you right in front of the doctors and nurses. Dozens of people saw me. It was you who gave up. You said you had no money, that you'd rather die than pay, that if Yang Wei died you'd die with him, and leave me a widow. You had the money and refused to save him. You killed him. You made me a widow. Why don't you go die with him then? Give me back my husband. Give him back to me." Sure. I made call after call and even sent her WeChat messages. This moment was worth the wait. "It's just a tantrum, isn't it?" She pees. I pee. Fight fire with fire. Last life, I was too soft-hearted, which is why that family had me completely under their thumb. Crying, I pulled out my phone and played aloud the WeChat messages I'd sent to my mother-in-law complaining about her not saving my husband, along with the call recordings, for the surrounding patients' families, doctors, and nurses to hear. "Mom, are you satisfied now?" I sobbed until my voice was hoarse, tears streaming down my face. And my mother-in-law's face grew even paler. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger, convinced that even if she didn't contribute a single penny, I'd still move heaven and earth to save Yang Wei. In my past life, she was the one constantly egging me on to borrow money from my family, claiming she'd already tried all of Yang's relatives and no one would lend him a cent. Even in the middle of our arguments this time around, she never failed to remind me to sell everything I own and go begging to my family for money. For all her scheming and plotting, she never expected me to suddenly change the rules of the game. You. The mother-in-law was speechless for a long moment, unable to catch her breath. "Mom, all the money Yang Wei has earned over the years is with you. Now that he's in trouble, you won't give a single cent. If Yang Wei finds out, he'll haunt you from beyond the grave. You killed my husband, and I will never let this go for the rest of my life after that." There was no time to waste. I still have a lot of loose ends to tie up. For instance, there's the property between Yang Wei and me, the insurance payout, and even the money he spent on his mistress. All of that needs to be settled properly. I've hired a lawyer. I'm walking out for good, and I certainly won't be dealing with Yang Wei's mess. Mourning a man like that would only make me sick. Once I got home, I had the renovation crew haul away all the old furniture and smash every bit of the fixed decor I couldn't take with me. The house isn't mine, but my parents paid for every bit of the renovation inside. I can't just let someone else walk away with all that. After finishing, I went back to my parents' home. My parents can't understand why I'm acting this way. Logically, I should be sad that Yang Wei died, but instead I'm acting like nothing happened, even feeling happy about it. I can't explain any further. Just tell them Yang Wei was having an affair. He got into the accident while buying a gift for his mistress. For the rest, just say they should trust me. I'm not an ungrateful person. My parents were so furious when they heard Yang Wei had cheated that they immediately wanted to seek justice and fully supported me without hesitation. Even when driven to despair by the Yang family and relatives in my past life, You never once uttered a harsh word to me. Yang Wei is just one of the main culprits. There's also the mother-in-law and the mistress. I won't let any of them get away. The next day, my mother-in-law kept calling me like a madwoman. It took dozens of calls before I finally picked up. In no particular hurry. You heartless bitch. Are you dead? Why haven't you been answering your phone? Came the shrill shriek of her mother-in-law from the other end of the line. Was it your son who died? Or did you kill him? Have you already forgotten so quickly? My mother-in-law was so furious she could spit blood. Where have all the things in the house gone? Why is the house smashed up? Was it you? That was my home with Yang Wei. Now that you've killed him, do you really think I'd leave anything behind for a murderer like you? How I choose to handle things is my own business. The house is my name. It's my home. What's it got to do with you? You need to get that straight. I let you live here before, and now you dare to damage my home, said the Queen Mother, her voice stern and righteous. I'm so angry I could laugh. It's true that my mother-in-law paid for the house in full, but at least half of that money came from Yang Wei's salary, which he handed over to her while we were dating. Of course, Yang Wei and I never got married, so his money has nothing to do with me. But his mother used buying that apartment as an excuse, saying she was broke and wouldn't give the betrothal gifts. My parents have only one daughter, me, and they've always doted on me. They didn't want any tension over the topic of bride price, so not only did they agree to forego it, but they also offered to pay for our home renovation. Back then, my mother-in-law kept insisting that this apartment was meant for Yang Wei and me. She said her name was just on the deed for formality's sake, but the right to use it was entirely ours. We could live in it, rent it out, or even sell it as we pleased. I blame myself for being so naive back then, and for being blindly devoted to Yang Wei. I fell right into that wicked mother and son pair's trap. I took a deep breath, trying hard to keep my emotions in check. Getting worked up over people like them, it's just not worth the trouble. I don't even want the house. You can keep it and live in it until you die, I said coldly. Given my mother-in-law's temperament, there's no way I'd ever get a single piece of that house, so I don't want to waste any more time fighting over it. The greatest tragedy in life is to cling to cold, lifeless assets with no one to care for you in your final days and no one to inherit them. Are you cursing me? My mother-in-law demanded, her voice trembling with emotion. I ignored her and continued, but my family paid for the renovations, and we bought all the appliances and furniture. Isn't it only right that I take them when I leave? You heartless bitch, you Xin, have you no conscience? I paid for that house so you could live there, and now that my son is gone, you turn your back on me. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? Not afraid, I said sarcastically. The lightning bolt isn't meant for me. After all, someone's already gotten their comeuppance, haven't they? What did you say? Are you calling my son's death some kind of divine punishment? Shouldn't you know perfectly well? You're the one who got him killed. I'm telling you, you Xin, if my son dies, you won't get off easy either. The mother-in-law slammed the phone down. I glanced at my phone and let out a cold smile. Bring it on. You're the one who should be scared. Don't go looking for trouble. That same afternoon, my dad and mom were watching TV in the living room when their expressions suddenly changed. They loved watching the local channel's mediation program, Sister Fan to the Rescue, which was all about neighborhood squabbles and domestic dramas. Sheen, come look quickly, my mom called out anxiously. I was in the living room too, texting the insurance company on my phone to inquire about compensation for Yang Wei's car accident. Since Yang Wei is primarily at fault, the compensation won't be very high. Hearing my mom's voice at that moment, I looked up and saw my mother-in-law on the TV screen. She is being interviewed by a journalist. In the lower left corner of the screen, a news headline reads, after her son was in a car accident, the daughter-in-law not only failed to provide medical care but also destroyed the house. My son was in a car accident 2 days ago, and my daughter-in-law, afraid of the cost, refused to pursue treatment, leaving my son to die in the hospital. Now, at my son's funeral, she's completely absent. There's nothing I can do, so I've come to you for help. The mother-in-law sobbed as she spoke, her pitiful appearance truly evoking sympathy. Why didn't you come? Was it because you felt guilty? Asked Sister Fan. No, the mother-in-law said through tears. As soon as my son had his accident, she started demanding the house. That house was bought with my life savings. The money I'd toiled my whole life to earn, paid for in full. It's under my name, because I refused to give it to her. She immediately turned on me. She took all the furniture and appliances from the house and even vandalized the place. The more she spoke, the more distraught she became, breaking down into loud, heart-wrenching sobs. After offering a few words of comfort, Sister Fan asked, what is it you'd like us to help you with today? Ma'am, I want my daughter-in-law to handle my son's funeral arrangements and return the house to its original state, along with all the furniture and appliances. All right. We'll contact your daughter-in-law first, as Sister Fan spoke. She picked up her phone, and moments later, mine started ringing at the same time. My parents' phones also began to ring. My parents each answered the phone. My mom, that's not what she said. How could our Shinshin possibly do something like that? This is a false accusation. My dad, don't you all know what kind of person Shinshin is? You know full well what you've done yourselves. If you keep making a scene like this, don't blame me for not showing respect to the dead. I'll make sure you're humiliated in front of the whole nation. My dad was absolutely furious, but his personal restraint kept him from tearing into a dead man in front of the media. It's clear that my mother-in-law's action has already caused a stir. It goes without saying how badly my reputation is ruined now. A wave of bitter irony washed over me. In my past life, the Yang family ruined my reputation and destroyed my family over a debt. In this life, Yang Wei is already dead, yet you still want to cyberbully me, forcing me to repeat the same mistakes. That's hilarious. She really thought I was completely unprepared. Now it's her turn to learn what it means to reap what you sow. So after the production team called twice, I answered, hello, hi UXIN, this is the Fandajia Health Team, your mother-in-law. I saw the live broadcast on TV. I'm heading to Yang Wei's Memorial Hall right now. With that, I hung up the phone, making trouble. Who can't do that? I put down my phone, went to my room to get my things in order, and then got ready to head out. Don't worry, I can handle this, I reassured them. I'm coming with you. What if you get taken advantage of on your own? My dad just couldn't rest easy with me going it alone. The production crew will be there too. I won't get the short end of the stick. Just wait by the TV for the news. I'm not going to let them worry about me like they did in my last life. I opened the door to my home. At the doorway, several neighbors from the adjacent units were blocking the way. Seeing me come out, they hurried away. As they were leaving, several neighbors from next door were blocking the way. When they saw me come out, they quickly scattered. As they shuffled off, a few gossipy old women muttered among themselves, that's the wicked daughter-in-law, the one with no sense of propriety. I heard the family's supposed to be educated, so how did they end up raising such an ill-mannered creature? What do you call it? A cultured scoundrel. I'm absolutely furious. My parents are just too reasonable, which is why those shameless Yangs have been walking all over them. I'm not wasting my time defending myself now. The truth will come out soon enough anyway. I hailed a cab and arrived at my destination. The memorial hall was quite crowded, probably because word got out that a TV crew was coming. Aside from relatives and friends, there were plenty of onlookers too. The moment I stepped inside, the entire hall erupted. UXIN. You actually showed up. How dare you have the nerve to come? If it weren't for you, Yang Wei wouldn't have died. If your mother-in-law hadn't reached out through the show's crew, would you have been so heartless as to not even see Yang Wei off on his final journey? It's a shame that Yang Wei and his mother have been so kind to you. You've been married to Yang Wei for over 3 years without having a child, yet he's never looked down on you. How can you still have the nerve to turn your back on him and deny everything? The Yang family's relatives were all chattering and scolding me. In reality, the Yang family and their relatives weren't particularly close. Yang's father passed away early, and his mother-in-law was eccentric and calculating. She never supported her own parents-in-law, which made the entire Yang family disapprove of her. Today, probably because the film crew was present and out of respect for the deceased, everyone wanted to seize the moment to showcase their so-called sympathy and sense of justice. Some even came just to see the old woman get her comeuppance. After all, she never took care of her in-laws herself, and now her daughter-in-law is turning against her. She's getting a taste of her own medicine. I glanced at Yang Wei's coffin, then saw his mistress, his colleague Su Fang. She shot me a venomous look before quickly lowering her head. No one knew about her secret relationship with Yang Wei, which couldn't be made public. She attended the funeral as a company colleague. I can never forget how, in my past life, she stood in our home with such arrogance, calling me a hen that doesn't lay eggs and someone who occupies the toilet without doing their business. I've been married to Yang Wei for 3 years and we don't have children, but it's not my fault. His asthenozoospermia makes it difficult to conceive. The doctor recommended IVF, but the cost is high, and my mother-in-law is against it. She's heard some baseless rumors that children conceived through IVF aren't healthy. Besides, the doctor said it would be difficult, not impossible. So my mother-in-law suggested we try to conceive naturally first, and worry about the age factor later. She actually ended up pregnant later, but it wasn't me, it was Su Fang. I still remember it vividly. After Su Fang got pregnant, my mother-in-law's smug expression as she declared that her son was perfectly fine, and that it was just a case of poor soil in the field. The more I think about it, the more ironic it seems. Pop, I slapped her across the face in front of everyone. Su Fang was stunned by Many of Yang Wei's colleagues were also present in the morning hall, and they too were stunned by my actions. What are you hitting her for? My mother-in-law shielded Su Feng, asking me angrily. Yang Wei is a mama's boy who tells his mother everything, so his mother-in-law must have known about his affairs with other women for a long time. Her mother-in-law even supported it, saying it was normal for a man to have a woman outside the marriage, and if he could get her pregnant, that was a man's greatest achievement. Hit her and that's it, I sneered. What, do you need to pick a lucky day to hit a mistress? What are you talking about? The mother-in-law was beside herself with rage. My son is dead, and you still slander him like this. How can you live with yourself? Have you no conscience at all? Who says I'm slandering him? He's my husband, he loved me deeply. It's all this vixen's fault for seducing him and getting him killed. I yanked the old woman, blocking Su Feng aside, my hand trembling as I pointed at her, my face a picture of utter anguish. I know all too well that tearing apart a dead person at a funeral would do me more harm than good. In Chinese culture, the principle of respect for the deceased holds an unshakable position, much like the concept of filial piety being the foremost of all virtues. So, as someone whose reputation was already in tatters, the only way for me to turn things around was to target the other woman. Not only that, I had to play the part of a naive, love-struck fool. That way, the audience would feel frustrated with my weakness. The more they pitted my lack of spine, the more they'd dig into our story. A man's affair is the kind of thing that can't withstand scrutiny, especially when the other woman is already pregnant. It's all because of this homewrecker. She seduced my husband. I checked the dashcam footage. She was pestering him for gifts, throwing a tantrum while he was driving. She distracted him. And that's what caused the accident. You're the one who killed my husband. As I spoke, I clung to Yang Wei's coffin and wailed uncontrollably. Husband, how could I be so cursed, to become a widow so young? Your mistress caused your accident, and your mother-in-law took your salary but refused to save you. When I see them, I want to skin them alive and drink their blood. Then, as if I'd lost my mind, I pulled out my phone, held it up to the camera, and scrolled through my WeChat chat history with my mother-in-law for the lens to see without a second thought. I knew how explosive this recording would be. After pulling up the chat history, I placed the video from my phone's dashcam in front of the camera and wailed, "Look, it's this mistress. She killed him. She knew he was driving, yet she still threw a tantrum, making him crash. You're a murderer, you mistress. I'm going to sue you in court and make you pay with your life. A life for a life is out of the question. It's truly heartbreaking. My husband was so good to you. He even got into an accident while buying you a gift. Over the years, he must have given you plenty of money. When he needed emergency care, you refused to pay to save him. You just stood by and watched him die. You murderer, how dare you show up at his funeral?" What? Hearing that Yang Wei had the accident because he had argued with Su Feng, the mother-in-law trembled all over, her eyes wide with disbelief as she stared at her. Is she telling the truth? The evidence was overwhelming. I shoved the dashcam footage in front of my mother-in-law, forcing her to watch it over and over again until she lost control, broke down completely, and lunged forward, slapping Su Feng. "You vixen, why did you kill my son?" That slap of hers sent the live broadcast into total chaos. The relatives who were there for the drama finally got the spectacle they craved. They turned on the mother-in-law, blaming her for failing to control her son and letting that homewrecker cause his death. The next day, #mother-in-law enabled sons affair. Mistress ends up killing him. #update. After my son's car accident, my daughter-in-law not only refused to save him, but also trashed the house. The follow-up, she encouraged my son to cheat. The mistress caused his death, was then invited to his funeral, and after trashing the house, my daughter-in-law refused to attend the funeral. This update completely blew up online. Netizens are all saying I did the right thing by smashing the place. Why bother saving a scumbag like that? It would have been more satisfying to just pull the plug and take a picture for the memory. Some are also saying that anyone who criticizes the wife must be the mistress. In the meantime, I have officially submitted all evidence to Su Feng, demanding she return all the marital assets that belong to me and Yang Wei because I fixed Yang Wei's phone. All the call logs, WeChat records, and various online banking transaction records were clearly visible. No doubt about it, Su Feng lost the case and was ordered to return 320,000 yuan of our marital joint property, but she had already spent all the money. How could she possibly pay it back? Just like in my past life, I hired a bunch of thugs, armed with the court's judgment notice, to hound her for the debt day after day. Since finding out that Su Feng was responsible for Yang Wei's fatal car accident, her mother-in-law has disliked her intensely, but she still tolerates her because she's carrying Yang Wei's grandchild. I didn't press her further. Since she was eager for a grandchild, I let it go for the time being and even reached a private agreement with Sufang. We just waited for the child to be born, after which the baby would be given to her to raise, allowing Sufang to go and marry someone else. That grandson was her only hope. So, every time I went to demand the money, my shameless mother-in-law would block me, throwing tantrums and making a scene. Even local thugs wouldn't dare lay a finger on an old lady. Collecting the debt became an uphill battle. What are you thinking? Using my money to support your mistress's child? Since Sufang won't give in, I'll have to pull out the big guns. I made 200 copies of the court summons, had someone investigate Sufang's hometown, and hired 10 people to go there, beating gongs and drums while handing out the flyers. Sufang's family was from the countryside, and her parents were simple, honest farmers. In a village, people care deeply about reputation and saving face. With all the drum beating and leaflet distributing, the whole village would have found out. Too ashamed to even knock, the old couple barged straight into the apartment Yang Wei had rented for Sufang, brandishing kitchen knives. Sufang was so terrified she immediately felt a sharp pain and began to bleed. By the time she reached the hospital, the baby was gone. She even lost her uterus. When my mother-in-law saw that the only bloodline she had longed for was gone, she was so enraged that she snatched the kitchen knife from Sufang's parents and attacked me. I could have dodged it, but I didn't. The blade sliced right through my shoulder, staining it red with blood. I was rushed to the emergency room for treatment. The assailant attacked someone openly in the hospital. The hospital called the police, and the elderly woman was taken straight into custody. He was eventually arrested for attempted murder and sentenced to 30 years. He's nearly 60, sentenced to 30 years. His retirement will be spent behind bars. Sufang's parents scraped together money by borrowing from relatives to repay the court-ordered amount, then took Sufang back to the countryside. After my mother-in-law was arrested, I sold everything of value in the house and took the money home to stay with my parents. In my past life, they worried themselves sick over me. This life, I'm staying away from all toxic men and instead, I'll stay close to my parents, enjoying the simple joy of family. End of text. That's all for the first story. Stay tuned. The next one is even more exciting. I served the spiked juice to my childhood friend. He drank it down without batting an eye. His face was flushed, and his hands fumbled uncontrollably to tear open the buttons of his shirt. He scooped me up by the waist and tossed me onto the bed. I struggled with all my might. Xinyu, what are you doing? Isn't this what you wanted? What did you put in it? Don't you know? As that handsome face drew closer, I shouted in protest. Bro, big bro, I added chili powder. Not aphrodisiac. 1. Xinyu is getting more and more out of line. He reported my early romance to my dad. Damn, who said college students can't date? Of course, it's the Zhao families. My lifelong reputation, Zhao Qing, has been utterly ruined by Xinyu. I had just finished dinner with my classmates when my dad called. On the other end of the line, the middle-aged man was speaking through tears. Sweetheart, you absolutely must not start dating anyone. Then, a sound like a boiling kettle started up. Oh, that was just my dad crying even harder. I sighed helplessly. Dad, I didn't. My father didn't believe it and continued to sob, tears and mucus streaming down his face. Wah wah wah. Xiaoshen said you've been hanging out a lot with a male classmate. Hearing my father mention Xinyu, I couldn't help but clench my fists. I knew it. Running into Xinyu at dinner, that look in his eyes meant nothing good was coming. My dad is such a crybaby. I've always wondered how my mom ever fell for him back in the day. Complaints aside, I still have to gently coax my crybaby dad. Dad, I'm not dating anyone. The crying hadn't stopped, only grown softer, punctuated by his hiccuping sobs. Really? I'm sure. Really? How could your dear daughter possibly lie to you? Upon hearing my affirmative response, the crying immediately ceased. He cleared his throat, unusually calm. That's good. You focus on your own things. Dad's fine. If you run out of living expenses, I'll send you some. My heart warmed at my dad's words. Even though he can be a bit of a drama king sometimes, he's still the dad who loves and cares for me the most. Just as expected, the transfer notification popped up on my phone too. I remembered the root cause of this whole mess and gritted my teeth. That damn Xinyu. Just you wait. Xinyu knew he had done something wrong, and I didn't see him at school until Friday. Every time he finishes writing a report, he feels guilty and avoids me for a few days. I didn't understand why Xinyu sometimes looked at me with a hint of guilt back then, until my father accidentally let something slip one day. Just thinking about that time in high school when Xinyu filed that ridiculous report against me for no reason still makes my blood boil. That guy, I swear. After my last class on Friday, I asked my roommate to take my books back to the dorm for me. I went to wait for Xinyu outside his classroom. I remembered his class was advanced mathematics, in room 402 of building 7. I waited in the Empty classroom next door. As class was about to end, I got up and went to stand by the classroom door to intercept him. It's rare for professors to hold the class over in university. As soon as the bell rings, students start trickling out of the classroom. Shinyu's roommates all knew me. When they saw me, they turned back and teased him. Hey Shinyu, your childhood sweetheart is here for you. Shinyu sauntered out of the classroom, his steps calm and unhurried. Seeing him look so utterly unbothered just made me want to pinch him, and I did just that. Gave him a good, hard pinch. Shinyu cried out in pain. Zhao Qing, are you trying to kill me? I only let go when I saw his expression twist in pain, letting out a huff. I want hot pot, I demanded, with complete confidence. Where shall we eat? He asked patiently. My eyes darted around. Go to your apartment and make it for me, I ordered imperiously. It's easier to take action at his apartment. Shinyu spoke in a gentle and amiable tone. Alright, dear, we're out of groceries. Wanna come with me to pick some up? Alright. Given how respectfully he asked, I'll be generous and agree. 3. After finishing the grocery shopping, I went back to Shinyu's apartment with him. Naturally, I just sat on the sofa waiting for the meal, leaving everything else to Shinyu. While Shinyu was washing the vegetables, I secretly took out that package from my pocket, pour a glass of juice, then add the medicine to it, stir it with a straw until it's well mixed. I lifted the cup and brought it to Shinyu's lips. He drank the entire glass of juice without so much as a flicker of emotion on his face. I looked at his unchanged expression and couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. What a legend. In a moment, Shinyu set down the vegetables in his hands and couldn't help but undo the buttons of his shirt. His face was flushed, and he had a light sheen of sweat on his forehead. I watched his expression shift with alarming speed, leaving me utterly dumbfounded. He scooped me up by the waist, flung open his bedroom door, and tossed me onto the bed. I struggled with all my might. Shinyu, what are you doing? Isn't this what you wanted? What did you put in it? Don't tell me you don't know. As that handsome face drew closer, I shouted in protest. Bro, I added chili powder, not some kind of aphrodisiac. Shinyu froze mid-motion, burying his head in my shoulder. His voice was faint, almost hollow. If you don't believe me, then why am I burning up all over? I patted him on the back. Of course you're feeling hot after eating chili powder. Go drink some water if you're overheated. For Shinyu's dejected voice came through. Oh, so why did you put chili powder in my juice? I couldn't help but chuckle. You didn't know. I nudged him to get off me. He lay there as still as a corpse, so I could only sigh and stare at the ceiling. You really don't know? I don't know. Was it you who told my dad? I snapped. Shinyu froze, then played dead again. Speak, what is it? His voice was still sullen. Aren't you a bit old to be acting so childish, running to my dad to tattle? Shinyu didn't answer my question. Instead, he asked, do you like him? Who do I like? I have no idea what you're talking about. The guy you had dinner with, Shinyu said, annoyed. It was because of that person that Zhao Qing stopped eating with him, so he had no choice but to resort to this underhanded tactic. Desperate and with no other options, he resorted to the most dishonorable method, tattling. Now I finally understand. So that's how it is. Actually, he came to me because, but of course, I'm not going to say. Oh, so you mean him, I drawled, deliberately keeping Shinyu in suspense. Suddenly, I felt a damp sensation on my shoulder. It couldn't be. I hurriedly pushed Shinyu away. I said in disbelief, Shinyu, are you crying? The corners of Shinyu's eyes were red, and a teardrop still clung to his cheek. Hearing my words, he hastily pulled the covers over his head. A muffled, nasal voice came from under the covers. No. I pulled the blanket back to peek at him. Really, no, he snapped. Frustrated, I reached out and touched the corner of his eye. It was damp. Liar, get up already. Didn't you feel thirsty after drinking all that chilly water? Don't worry about me. Don't you like him? Why are you still asking about me? Shinyu's voice was muffled. 5. I let out a soft sigh. When did Shinyu become as prone to tears as my dad? Who says I like him? Shinyu threw off the covers and sat bolt upright, retorting, you won't even eat with me anymore, and you still claim you don't like him. After saying that, he turned his head away and refused to look at me. So, eating with him means I like him. I eat with you all the time. Does that mean I like you? I curled my lips. Shinyu's eyes reddened further at the words, muttering softly, you'd never like me. What? I didn't catch that. He raised his voice slightly. You don't like me at all. I froze. How could you tell? Shinyu grew even more annoyed. Anyway, I just know. His words made me doubt myself. Am I losing my memory? How could I not know that I don't like Shinyu? Shinyu thought of that incident, and tears welled up again. So fragile. It makes you want to tease them mercilessly. Seeing the redness in his eyes and his hair slightly disheveled, I felt a quiet helplessness. Back then, Shinyu wasn't this prone to tears. 6. Shinyu and I grew up together, but it wasn't quite the classic childhood sweetheart story. He moved next door to us when he was 9. Back then, Xinyu was quite different from the person he is now. Even as a kid, he put on this air of being mature beyond his years. While the rest of us were having a blast playing, he'd keep to himself on the sidelines, never quite fitting in. One day, while we were playing house, Xinyu sat quietly off to the side, doing his homework. I saw him and frowned slightly. Remembering our teacher's advice not to leave a good friend out, after a moment's thought, I came up with a brilliant idea. Men, go and fetch me a husband for my mountain stronghold, I declared with a grand sweep of my arm. My guys glanced around. This wasn't in the script they remembered. How were they supposed to react? I looked at these clueless underlings, frantically trying to signal them toward Xinyu's direction. Finally, someone gets what I'm saying. Now it clicks. If the boss wants a husband, we should snatch the most handsome one for her. Only someone like that is worthy of our boss. The other henchmen followed suit, echoing his words. They immediately realized what was happening, and someone pointed a finger in Xinyu's direction. Only he is worthy of our wise and mighty leader. Then a group of people hurriedly carried Xinyu away while he was doing his homework. Xinyu looked utterly bewildered. I nodded with relief, blending in so I wouldn't be left out. Carry him to my house, tonight. This king is going to consummate the marriage. I grinned, showing my teeth. The underlings cheered and jumped for joy, and a whole crowd of them carried Xinyu to my house in a grand procession. They even remembered to pack his homework when they took him away. Fortunately, most parents haven't finished work yet, so I didn't run into many acquaintances. Xinyu was carried into my house, or more precisely, onto my bed, looking utterly defeated. 7. Everyone, withdraw. This king is retiring to the bridal chamber. The friend playing the underling still wore a look of keen interest, thoroughly enjoying the wedding night revelry and reluctant to leave. Finally, under the imposing authority of the king, he departed. Looking back with every step he took, the underling scene had come to an end. My show is just getting started. The mountain bandit king forcibly takes a husband for his stronghold. I took a pink silk scarf from my wardrobe, tied his wrists together, and finished with a bow. Xinyu wore an expression of utter helplessness. Zhao Qing, when will this end? I shot him a slightly annoyed look. Don't address me by my given name so casually. You shall call me the Mountain King now. Xinyu glanced at the ceiling, exasperated. Mountain King, when will this be over? I gave a lecherous chuckle. My dear, it will only be over when I, your king, am in a good mood. I was just messing with him. I finally caught Xinyu for some fun, and I wasn't about to let him leave until I'd had my fill. I looked him up and down, feeling like something was missing. I've got it. I dashed over to the wardrobe, rummaged through it, scattering clothes everywhere, and spotted that red t-shirt. Picked it up. You're the one. I dashed back to the bed and covered Xinyu's head with my red t-shirt. Before covering him, I saw an even deeper look of utter despair in his eyes. I grinned from ear to ear. Then I took out the kid's lipstick my mom bought me and smeared a thick ring around my lips. Looking at the crooked lipstick in the mirror, I frowned, about to wipe it off and reapply. Shin, you spoke up. Zhao Qing, are you done yet? My darling husband is so eager, so of course I'll indulge him. I casually tossed the lipstick aside, ran to the bedside. 8. I rubbed my hands together, putting on the same lecherous act I'd seen villains use in all those period dramas about abducting young women. My pretty little thing, here I come. I lifted the bridal veil, a sleazy grin plastered across my face. I'm coming right now to satisfy you. Xinyu froze for a moment when he saw my face smeared with lipstick, then burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Zhao Qing, look at you, you're like a little painted kitten. I've never seen Xinyu laugh so happily before, but the moment I realized he was laughing at me, I wasn't happy anymore. I shot Xinyu a slightly displeased look, pouting my lips. Don't you dare laugh at me, Your Majesty. He still couldn't help himself and kept on laughing. I was so angry I smacked a kiss right on his face, laughing. Haha, now you laugh. There's still a big lipstick mark from me on his face. I looked at the masterpiece I had left on his face and nodded in satisfaction. That'll make you laugh. I planted kisses all over his face, his forehead, his right cheek, his chin, filling in every blank spot I could find. After I was done, it was my turn to laugh. Ha ha ha, Xinyu, you're a little painted kitten now too. Xinyu was so furious his ears turned bright red, and he started sputtering. You, Zhao Qing, you're impossible. I shook my head smugly. I was just too good. Zhao Qing, you can't do this. I couldn't have cared less. And why not? He was just about to say something when, bang asterisk, my door was flung open. 9. Zhao Qing, my mom's roar made me jump. I ducked behind Xinyu. Seeing this only made my mom angrier. Only then did I notice my dad, along with Xinyu's dad and mom, standing behind her. In Mrs. Zhao's eyes, Xinyu was now a poor, pitiful soul who had just been forcibly kissed by her daughter. The corners of his eyes were a little red, though I knew it was just from the force of my kiss, but to Mrs. Zhao, he looked like a victim being bullied by her own daughter. Xinyu's face was covered in the evidence of my crime, not to mention his hands were still tied with my silk scarf. He was the very picture of a helpless victim. Mrs. Zhao struggled to contain her emotions as fury welled up inside her. Zhao Qing, just you wait. I'll beat you so badly today that you'll have to take my last name, or I'm not your mom. I peeked out from behind Xinyu, but when I saw my mom raging, I quickly shrank back. Honestly, I wanted to tell my mom that I was already taking her last name, but seeing her expression, I couldn't bring myself to say a word. My mom wanted to step forward, untie the ribbon on Xinyu's wrist first, and then deal with me. She was pulled back by the smiling Mrs. Shen behind her. My mother looked at Mrs. Shen with an apologetic expression. I'm so sorry, Yen. My daughter is really quite mischievous, my mom said it while glaring at me, probably planning to give me a good scolding later. When everyone else had left, Mrs. Shen had just returned from taking photos of the newborn, camera still in hand. Her voice was soft and calm, not angry at all. She picked up her camera and started snapping photos of me and Xinyu. That's great, she said. Xinyu has always been serious and reserved. Sometimes when I tease him, he doesn't even react. It's rare to see him like this. Thanks to your daughter. As she spoke, Mrs. Shen never stopped taking pictures. With her camera, Xinyu untied the ribbon herself, walked over to her mother, and said with a helpless expression, Mom, stop taking pictures. Mrs. Shen didn't listen, a smile playing at the corner of her lips as she pressed the shutter once more. She knew all along, if Xinyu didn't want this, he would have broken free long ago. The way he was acting, she couldn't tell who he took after. Shen's mother secretly pinched the man beside her, who felt it was an unwarranted misfortune. With a glance, I signaled to my wife, Honey, it's not my fault, my genes are just too strong. He couldn't help it. After finishing with Xinyu, she waved to me and said, Come on over, Xiao Qing. I looked at my mom, then at Auntie Zhao, and froze. I didn't dare move a muscle. 10. My mom shot me a sidelong glance. I'll deal with you later, she said. Get over here. Okay. I dashed over with a patter of quick steps. Aunt Shen said gently, Come here. Xiao Qing, stand next to AU for a keepsake photo. So that day, Xinyu and I took several very meaningful photos. Of course, after Aunt Shen and the others left, I also got a good scolding. My mom was lecturing me relentlessly, and my dad, unable to stop her, just stood by silently with tears in his eyes. From that day on, my relationship with Xinyu grew closer and closer. We were inseparable. It was good until high school, but then it wasn't as good anymore. Because of Xinyu, he's actually started tattling. By the time we started high school, all my close friends had scattered to different schools. I glanced at Xinyu, who was still faithfully by my side, and felt a profound sense of relief. As long as my mountain stronghold husband was still here, everything was fine. High schoolers grow up so fast, and Xinyu was becoming more strikingly handsome by the day. He was drawing more and more attention, and as I struggled to suppress my growing displeasure, it finally dawned on me. I truly wanted him to be my mountain stronghold husband. Cough, cough. So I like him. I really like him a lot. When I first started high school, I already knew how I felt about Xinyu. I'm treating him better than before. So when Xinyu said I would never like him, I was completely baffled and had no idea what he was talking about. I gently wiped the tears from Xinyu's eyes with my thumb and asked softly, When did I ever say I didn't like you? 11. Xinyu still wouldn't look at me, the redness at the corners of his eyes betraying his vulnerability. It was a long while before he spoke. It was the day of the sports meet. Back in my first year of high school, Xinyu tilted his head back at a 45-degree angle, fighting to keep the tears from falling. When Xinyu said that, it suddenly came back to me. I'll never forget that day because I wanted to confess my feelings secretly. I also wanted to be trendy for once, like in novels, confessing without making a big deal out of it. I'm not entirely sure about Xinyu's feelings, and I'm afraid that confessing might ruin our friendship. I came up with a confession plan that's offensive when it works and defensive when it doesn't. At the very end of the sports day, I pulled off the ultimate casual move, accidentally saying I liked Xinyu in the classroom. If he changed expression when he heard it, I'd take it as a joke and quietly return to my place as a friend. After making absolutely sure no one else would come to the classroom, I had someone call Xinyu back. Before he arrived, I rehearsed it countless times. Xinyu, I like you. Do you like me? Xinyu, I like you. Do you like me? After saying it for so long, I finally tripped over my own words. Xinyu doesn't like me. I don't like Xinyu. Ugh, no, 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 that's wrong. I do like Xinyu. Standing outside the door without hearing the rest, Xinyu felt as though the sky had fallen. All I could think about was that she didn't like me. So I couldn't even hear what came after. He even forgot to ask Zhaoqing why she wanted to see him. There I was, all alone in the hallway, bearing the weight of my sorrow and solitude. He still didn't dare to go far, though he was heartbroken, afraid that if Zhaoqing came looking for him, she'd find no trace. So he stood alone, silently enduring the cold wind for a long time, seeing nothing with any favor. Damn those roses, blooming so brilliantly, the flower of his love withered before it could even blossom. He thought wryly to himself that it was a good thing he hadn't confessed yet, otherwise, getting rejected would have been a complete humiliation. Xinyu thought about it for a long time, but still concluded that he could only hang himself on Zhaoqing's tree from now on. He just can't stand seeing Zhaoqing with someone else. Xinyu vowed to himself that from this day forward, he would become Neo-Huru Xinyu. He was going to embrace the darkness completely. 12. I've been practicing in the classroom until my mouth was dry, but Xinyu still hasn't arrived. I'm starting to wonder, has something happened to him? As I stepped out of the classroom, I saw Xinyu leaning against the railing outside the next class, gazing up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. The urge to confess vanished the moment I laid eyes on him. I was too scared. I was no longer the Zhaoqing from childhood who could boldly drag Xinyu home to be my mountain stronghold husband. Sometimes, I even envy my past self, carefree and without a single inhibition, not like now, where the affection I carry in my heart is too overwhelming to even dare speak aloud. I'm afraid he doesn't like me, and I'm scared that confessing my feelings might ruin our friendship. Love is delicate and cautious. I backed down. Xinyu, I called out to stop him, wanting to ask why he hadn't come to the classroom. I wondered if he had noticed my flawless plan. I was too embarrassed to ask directly, so I had to approach it indirectly. Did you just come to the classroom? My heart was in my throat, afraid he might hear, yet equally afraid he might not. As I awaited his verdict, a flicker of disappointment passed through Xinyu's eyes as he took in every nuance of my expression. What's the matter? Afraid he might overhear you saying you don't like him later? Xinyu shook his head. I let out a long sigh. Forget it. This kind of flawless, perfectly scripted confession just isn't my style. Better to take the slow and steady approach, like boiling a frog. Little did I know that slow boil would last all the way until University 13, so it's because of that's why you think I don't like you. I stared at Xinyu, utterly dumbfounded. He protested. I heard you say with your own mouth that you don't like me. No wonder he ran so fast when he heard Zhaoqing was waiting for him in the classroom. My face was a picture of utter disbelief as I asked weakly, don't tell me that's the only part you heard. Xinyu looked a bit guilty, then lifted his head with a haughty air. Whether I heard the whole thing isn't important, hearing the most crucial part is good enough. At this, his face was once again etched with boundless sorrow and dejection. Oh, so you're saying you didn't hear me say I like you at all? I murmured softly. Hearing this, Xinyu's eyes lit up. He finally turned his face towards me, looking directly at me. Say that again. His gaze was brimming with anticipation. No way, I'm repeating that. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I never thought something straight out of a novel, a complete misunderstanding, would actually happen to me. Never mind, you didn't hear it. He rushed over, gripping my hand unsteadily. No, I heard it. You said you like me. After saying that, Xinyu started grinning like an idiot. Could this be why you secretly tattled to my dad? I said in a low, resentful tone. Xinyu froze, staring at me cautiously, not daring to move a muscle. I could tell from the look on his face that I was right. I placed my hand on his shoulder and whispered in his ear, don't tell me you turned dark after that day. Which is why you tattled to my dad. Xinyu froze even more, trembling uncontrollably. He simply couldn't stand the terrifying atmosphere any longer and cried out, I was wrong. He then rushed to the study, swiftly yanked the keyboard free, brought it back to the room, placed it on the floor, and decisively knelt down on it. I'm really sorry. I raised an eyebrow at the sight of him decisively dropping to his knees. His will to survive is quite strong. 14. Then tell me, what exactly did you do wrong? Xinyu kept his head down, not daring to meet my eyes, and began to speak quietly. I shouldn't have offered to keep an eye on things when my uncle said I should be careful around the boys at school. Xinyu stole a glance at my expression, and seeing no change, ventured to speak again. In my first year of high school, when someone gave you a love letter, it was me who told your uncle about it. I remember this time. It was around then that my dad started getting all emotional whenever he sensed I was developing a crush. Whenever I cry, I can't be comforted, and my mom doesn't help me. She just tells me to figure it out myself. Proceed. Someone sent you gifts to pursue you. I secretly told uncle about it too. I found it rather amusing how Xinyu kept glancing at my expression while speaking. So now you're afraid I'll get angry. Where was this concern earlier? If my dad hadn't let it slip one time, I wouldn't have known it was Shinyu behind it. After that, I had already been keeping my distance from the boys in my class, and then I pulled away even further. I'm afraid of going home and seeing my dad, a tough guy. In tears I paused to think, and something still felt off. Why was my dad always so well informed about what was happening at my school? It wasn't until one time when he was drunk that I tried to coax it out of my dad. Dad, I whispered, how are you so brilliant and all-knowing? You always find out what happens at school. My dad puffed up with pride at this. Your old man here, he said, has the gift of foresight. Daddy, I wheedled, whose dad is the most dashing, handsome, and charming man in the world. Of course, it's my universe-conquering, super handsome dad. Just tell me, please. Flattered and floating on air from my praise, the words slipped right out. Well, if it wasn't for Shen, by the time my dad realized what he'd said, it was already too late. He couldn't take it back, and his face wore a look of grudging embarrassment. Daughter, I didn't say a thing. I glanced at him briefly and said nothing. I looked at the man kneeling upright before me and had to admit, a man with good looks has a certain appeal in everything he does. Kneeling like that just makes you want to be ravished. If my dad knew he was so busy guarding against outsiders, only to be betrayed by someone close, I'd find it almost laughable. I really don't know why my dad trusts Shinyu so completely. TSK, the rabbit's going to nibble the grass right by its own burrow. 15. Seeing Shinyu looking as pitiful as a wronged young bride, and having knelt for so long, my anger finally subsided. All right, I said, you can get up now. Shinyu didn't move at first. He stole a glance at my expression, and only after confirming I was truly no longer angry did he slowly rise to his feet. Once standing, he quietly rubbed his knees. So, you like me, and I like you. Would you be with me? Shinyu stared at me eagerly, waiting for my reply. I shot him an annoyed look. Fine. I'm not someone who drags things out. When both of us feel the same way, I naturally want to be with the person I like sooner. I have my own selfish desires too. Shinyu's mood instantly lifted, no longer looking like the pitiful, broken puppy he had just been. If he had a tail, it would be wagging nonstop right now. Then, if anyone asks me out in the future, I can just say I already have a girlfriend. I narrowed my eyes and looked at Shinyu with a scrutinizing gaze. Are you hiding something from me? Shinyu's hand trembled slightly, his expression one of resigned acceptance. A girl's been chasing me lately. I couldn't help but laugh. Seriously, I get reported for just having a meal with someone, but he's over here with someone actually chasing after him. Only after Shinyu repeatedly assured me that he had never spoken to her did I reluctantly forgive him. Soon after, I met the girl Shinyu mentioned, the one who was pursuing him. 16. On Wednesday after school, Shinyu was waiting for me at the door of my classroom. He said he wanted to have lunch with me every day from now on. I will never give anyone an opening, whether against me or against him. I found a corner in the cafeteria and sat down while Shinyu went to get the food. I just waited for him there. Before long, Shinyu returned with 2 meals. He sat down beside me, meticulously wiped the chopsticks, and then handed them to me. A voice, brimming with pleasant surprise, called out, "Senior." I looked up and saw a sweet-looking girl gazing at Shinyu with delight in her eyes. Shinyu quickly leaned closer to me and declared with firm conviction, "I have a girlfriend." She looked at us in disbelief, her eyes tinged with hurt, before quietly accepting the fact that Shinyu had a girlfriend. All right, she left with a hint of reluctance, but still walked away. I looked at Shinyu. It's your face that caused all this trouble. He raised his slender, pale fingers in a vow of sincerity. I've only ever liked you since we were kids, don't you remember? I'm still your mountain stronghold husband. I twitched my brow and said nothing. He grew a bit anxious. There's still evidence at home, photos my mom took. Seeing his expression, I couldn't resist kissing him on the cheek, and he froze. I let out a soft laugh. Haha, Shinyu, you're such a goof. He looked at me pleadingly. One more kiss, eat now, or you won't be able to later. Oh, 17. I didn't expect this classmates situation to have a follow-up. Shinyu's roommates treated everyone to karaoke at KTV. And he brought me along. I only found out after I arrived that the others who had girlfriends were in long-distance relationships and couldn't make it, or else, they're just single dogs with no partner. After a while in the room, I told Shinyu I needed to use the restroom. He wanted to come with me, but I stopped him. I never expected to run into an acquaintance just stepping out of the restroom. It was the classmate who had a crush on Shinyu. She looked at me, her eyes lighting up. She had actually been looking for this senior, and couldn't believe her luck at running into her like this. She couldn't help herself and finally spoke up. "Senior, I think Shinyu might not be doing well." "I'm puzzled," she explained. I just heard him at the doorway, his tone so nonchalant, classic toxic guy vibes. that's exactly how he spoke just now. With that, the junior imitated Shinyu's tone, chasing after a girlfriend. That's a piece of cake, as easy as taking candy from a baby, the junior's expression was hard to describe, relief mixed with a hint of disgust. He's clearly a player, she said, shaking her head. I can't even remember what I saw in him before. She turned to me again and said, Senior, I really hope you'll think this through carefully, don't let yourself be fooled. Her eyes were filled with compassion. I keep getting this strange sense of déjà vu. You didn't just hear that one line, did you? She nodded, her face full of confusion. Wasn't that one sentence enough? It clearly had the tone of a player. I signaled for her to follow me to the door of the room to listen to the conversation inside. 18. While they were chatting, everyone had turned off the music, so all their noisy chatter could be heard clearly from outside. Someone chimed in, Shinyu's the real MVP. He actually pulled it off using our dorms, how to win her over playbook, and landed himself a girlfriend. With everyone's experience, it finally clicked. Alright, today I, Old Wong, am going to give you singles a little lesson. With your girlfriend, be sincere. If you're in the wrong, just own up to it. No toxic masculinity here. If you need to kneel on a keyboard, you kneel on a keyboard. If you need to kneel on a durian, you kneel on a durian. The others chuckled. Looks like Brother Wong here is speaking from experience. Come on, let's hear a few words of wisdom from Shinyu, our man who's successfully landed a girlfriend. Get lost, he teased with a grin, but I still said it. My girlfriend and I grew up together. Childhood sweethearts without a hint of suspicion. It's just not the same as you guys, but I wholeheartedly agree with the principle of admitting your mistakes and taking responsibility. Looking at my junior who was completely lost, I said, next time, try to get the full story. My junior then relaxed and said, Senior, I'm actually quite shallow. I just like his face. Of course, I have my principles. Since he's taken, I won't like him anymore. I wish you both happiness. With that, she waved and left. Watching her walk away, I smiled. She's actually pretty cute. After everything was over, Shinyu and I went back to his apartment. He couldn't help but stay close to me the whole way. 19. His eyes lit up a little. Baby, I want to kiss you. As he spoke, his lips met mine, soft and gentle at first, then gradually deepening, claiming me until I was breathless. And only then did he pull away. I lay in his arms, feeling his heartbeat, fast, just as fast as mine. In the pitch-black night, it felt as though only the two of them could hear their heartbeats. After resting enough, I jumped onto Shinyu's back, and he quickly caught me. Then he carried me home at a leisurely pace, almost at the apartment building. He finally spoke slowly. It wouldn't be bad if we kept going like this. Then you have to carry me the whole way. Yeah, I don't think I could ever let you go. Shinyu, a faint, eerie voice called out from beside us, startling us both. Good thing Shinyu was holding me tight while carrying me on his back, or I would have fallen. I looked at the tall figure standing nearby. It was none other than my dear old father. My father's gaze towards Shinyu was filled with profound disappointment, as if saying, I trusted you so much. How could you betray that trust? I got down from Shinyu's back. Dad, what are you doing here? If I hadn't come, how would I have known some pig was trying to snatch my precious cabbage? I was guarding against all outsiders, but I never expected the threat would come from within my own home. Shinyu had been feeling a bit guilty, but when he heard my dad say that it's hard to guard against a thief within the home, his eyes lit up. He shouted, Dad, we treat him like family, you little rascal. Shinyu, I haven't even agreed yet, and you're already calling me Dad. As he spoke, my father's tears began to fall, unable to hold them back. The thought of his daughter getting married and leaving him makes him sad. Hold it in, came my mom's voice. Oh, my dad choked back the tears. Uncle Shen and Aunt Shen came over as well. Aunt Shen's eyes shone with unconcealable delight when she looked at me. Our group went upstairs, where my mom and Aunt Shen were talking about Shinyu and me. Before long, the two of them were already discussing our wedding. My father stood by, silently shedding tears. We slipped into the room while they weren't looking. It seems my mom really likes you. I gave Shen Yu's hand a gentle squeeze. Then can we get married right after graduation? Shinyu laughed. That depends on how you behave. I smiled, my eyes crinkling at the corners. Got it. I'll make sure to perform well and aim to get my certification as soon as possible. A soft voice whispered in my ear, settling deep in my heart. Zhao Qing, I like you so much. I love you. I turned my head to look at his delicate features, a smile tugging at my lips. I like you so much too. All my loved ones are by my side, and life is peaceful and serene. It's truly wonderful. 20. Shinyu side story. I moved with my parents when I was 9. I met a new neighbor. Her name is Zhao Qing. In a new environment, I had intended to be a mature and steady person. She ruined everything. She was worried I'd be left out, so she invited me to play house. Honestly, I was a bit reluctant. I'd much rather have been doing my homework, but I didn't expect her to be so bold. She wants me to be her husband. I was a bit embarrassed, but I didn't refuse. I teased her about her smudged lipstick. She told me to stop laughing, and then she actually leaned in and kissed me. I was stunned. I'd never met a girl like that before. I was just about to say that since she kissed me, she had to take responsibility. When my parents and hers came back, for a moment, I was speechless, and my mom immediately picked up her camera and started snapping away. These photos are still well preserved today. At our wedding, both sets of parents agreed to display our marriage certificate on the big screen. We even had a playful photo taken, a larger-than-life version of the certificate, styled like a scene where the bandit queen captures her groom. As for that dark chapter from my high school days, ahem, let's just leave that unmentioned for now. Later I asked my wife why she never confronted me in high school after finding out I was the one who snitched. She gave me a light, dismissive glance and said, "Of course she liked me. Try it with someone else. See if she'd put up with it. He. I'm happy again. I knew she loved me." After years of marriage, I still feel uneasy about her having dinner with a male classmate. It wasn't until one evening, when I treated my wife exceptionally well, that she reluctantly told me the classmate wants to pursue her roommate and asked her for help, asking her to keep it a secret. I feel better instantly. Enough talk. I'm off to cuddle with my wife and sleep. Good night. End of text. Story 2. I came across a street interview video by a certain blogger. What would you like to say to yourself 5 years ago? In the video, Zhou Jingqing had his arm around his young girlfriend. His voice was calm and his tone was full of indulgence. I hope Zhou Jingqing 5 years ago could have met Lin Manman earlier. The girl in his arms blushed shyly and covered her mouth in agreement. Me too. Netizens were all excited about them and sent their blessings one after another. No one knew that 5 years ago was the day when I married Zhou Jingqing. Even he himself had forgotten about it. Until a week later, the blogger released another street interview video. In the video, I looked straight into the camera and said seriously, if possible, Xinyu, don't marry Zhou Jingqing. You will regret it. This time, Zhou Jingqing saw this video. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. The day I agreed to the divorce was an ordinary afternoon. I dialed Zhou Jingqing's number, but it was Lin Manman who answered the phone. Hello, I'm looking for Zhou Jingqing. He's taking a shower. If you have anything to say, you can just tell me. Her voice was as charming and fearless as ever. There was still a hint of claiming sovereignty and showing off in her tone. In the past, I would definitely have shouted and hysterically told Lin Manman to get lost, insisting that I wanted to see Zhou Jingqing. But now, I knew clearly that only Lin Manman could reach Zhou Jingqing. I couldn't let her hang up the phone like she used to, leaving me alone like a madwoman. Didn't he mention divorce before? I agree to it. I calmly conveyed what I wanted to say. Lin Manman on the other end of the phone was silent for a second, and then repeated the question in disbelief. You agreed to the divorce? Yeah. As soon as the words fell, there came a rustling sound. The phone should have been taken by Zhou Jingqing soon. His deep and indifferent voice rang in my ear. It's me. I knew it. Hearing his voice, I felt a bit dazed. After all, since he moved out of the villa and got together with Lin Manman half a year ago, we hadn't been in touch anymore. The last words he said to me at that time were, Xinyu, let's get a divorce. If you don't agree, I will separate from you and then file a lawsuit. Now, half a year has passed, and I have compromised. Manman said you want to divorce me. Seeing that I didn't respond, Zhou Jingqing asked first. He should have frowned when he said this, and his tone carried a trace of confusion. I couldn't understand where his confusion came from. Wasn't it him who brought up the divorce? But now I didn't want to argue with Zhou Jingqing about the issue of who initiated it. I gave a hum. I told him, if you have time, let's meet and sign the divorce agreement. After that, I hung up the phone. This was the first time I hung up the phone first since I found out about Zhou Jingqing's affair. In the past, I bombarded him with phone calls and messages. I cursed him with the most vicious words, and also begged him with the most sorrowful voice. But every time, Zhou Jingqing would say impatiently, can you stop acting like a madman? Talk to me when you've calmed down. Then he would end the call without mercy. No matter how many calls and messages I sent, he would ignore them. I also wanted to be calm, but when I thought that our relationship of so many years would end in such a way, I couldn't control myself. I wanted to question Zhou Jingqing why he betrayed me. I also wanted to beg Zhou Jingqing to turn back, and I would forgive him. But after all the resentment and waiting, Zhou Jingqing remained the same, and I gradually became worried about gains and losses, really becoming like what he said, like a madman. I muddled through for a long time like this, immersed in this relationship that tortured me, until 3 days ago I came across a street interview video by a blogger named Time Capsule. The question he asked in the interview was, What would you like to say to yourself 5 years ago? Some people said they should study hard, some people said they hoped to spend more time with their families, some people said that they were great and excellent 7 years later and had lived up to their expectations. Among these series of answers I saw Zhou Jingqing and his young girlfriend, Lin Manman. This made me believe that this wasn't a script, after all. According to Zhou Jingqing's current status, even the most top-tier authors would have to make an appointment in advance to meet him, and this blogger really seemed to randomly interview passers-by. He interviewed Zhou Jingqing. At the beginning of the video, Zhou Jingqing was a bit reluctant about this kind of interview. It was Lin Manman beside him who looked surprised and full of interest. This is so interesting, Qing. Let's play along. She shook Zhou Jingqing's arm and said coquettishly. Zhou Jingqing looked helpless and indulgently agreed. The blogger briefly introduced his identity and purpose, and then asked the same question. Lin Manman fell into thought. Seeing her in a dilemma, Zhou Jingqing beside her answered for her first. If possible, I hope Zhou Jingqing 5 years ago could have met Lin Manman earlier. As he said this, he put his arm around her. Although his voice was cold, it wasn't hard to hear the care he had for the girl. The Lin Manman in his arms looked at him in surprise, and then covered her mouth with a shy face and agreed, me too. When I saw this video, it already had tens of thousands of likes. Many netizens commented, damn, this couple has such high looks, I'm so into them, OMG, it's the pure love couple, great, we still have hope, so sweet, you two must be happy, wish you a long and happy marriage. I stared blankly at the video. Did Zhou Jingqing like Lin Manman that much? Did he forget that 5 years ago, we just got married? That was the best time of our relationship even though we were poor. We felt extremely happy, and now, in the video, he said he hoped that his past self could have met Lin Manman earlier. I thought I would be as angry as usual, furious. Then I would rush to pick up my phone and bombard Zhou Jingqing with calls to question him. If I couldn't get through, I would smash everything in the villa and then shout to vent my anger. But surprisingly this time, I just sat there without moving. Those comments that should have been stinging and stirred up my emotions just passed before my eyes like a string of codes. Then, it was as if something in my mind was pulled out and dispersed. I was surprised to find that I was actually indifferent to Zhou Jingqing's behavior. Obsession can happen in an instant, and so can being enlightened. Therefore, that's why I made the phone call earlier. Zhou Jingqing sent me a message in front of a series of red exclamation marks in the green message box. That message in the white box with black characters was particularly obvious. It seemed that Zhou Jingqing had taken me out of his blacklist. I thought mockingly, Zhou Jingqing asked me to go to his company on Monday. He would ask the lawyer to draw up the agreement terms. After both sides communicated and there were no problems, we could sign and wait for the divorce cooling off period to pass. Okay, on Monday, I went to Zhou Jingqing's company as agreed. Since I didn't have an appointment, the receptionist made a call to ask for instructions. Yes, Ms. Shen. After hanging up the phone, the receptionist asked me to go to the floor of the president's office, and a secretary would receive me. I said thank you and went directly to Zhou Jingqing's floor. The person who received me was a strange young girl. I didn't know her. After all, since I separated from Zhou Jingqing, I hadn't been here for half a year. She was probably a new employee. Ms. Shen, please wait here, Mr. Zhou is in a meeting. The young girl didn't know me either. She called me Ms. Shen and led me to the reception room beside. In the past, when I came, I would directly go to Zhou Jingqing's office and wait. His meetings would usually last for at least an hour. I didn't like waiting. Zhou Jingqing knew that, to prevent me from getting bored, he would put a lot of books and DVDs in his office. You can read books and watch movies. If you're tired, go to the lounge and wait for me. He told me that at that time, the last time I came here, all the things in Zhou Jingqing's office that belonged to me had been replaced, and the person who could freely enter his private lounge had also become someone else. Now, if I wanted to see him, I could only wait in the ordinary reception room, but I really didn't have the mood and energy to quarrel about such a small thing now, so I waited quietly. Anyway, there was enough time, but unexpectedly, this time I waited for 2 hours. Still no one came to inform me to see Zhou Jingqing. Excuse me, has your Mr. Zhou's meeting ended? I couldn't help it and directly asked the young girl who had brought me to the reception room. The young girl was evasive. Mr. Zhou is still in a meeting. I frowned and was about to speak. Suddenly, there came voices of chatting and laughing. Then let's go to that restaurant for lunch together. Okay, these two voices were all too familiar. After all, I had heard them on the phone last night. I saw Lin Manman holding a folder and bouncing along beside Zhou Jingqing. The charming and beautiful girl had a face full of youth and vitality, bright and flamboyant. Zhou Jingqing beside her slightly tilted his ear and leaned in to listen to her. I didn't know what else Lin Man said. The smile on Zhou Jingqing's lips deepened a bit. Sigh. The young girl saw me walking directly towards Zhou Jingqing and didn't have time to stop me. Zhou Jingqing. Hearing my voice, the two of them turned around and looked at me in unison. I clearly saw a flash of surprise and astonishment on Zhou Jingqing's face. I asked Zhou Jingqing if his meeting was over. If it was over, it was time to talk about our business. I came at 10 o'clock and have been waiting for you for 2 hours. Who told you I was in a meeting? Surprisingly, Zhou Jingqing frowned and asked back. I was stunned and instinctively looked at him. The confusion in Zhou Jingqing's eyes didn't seem to be fake. He and I almost reacted at the same time. I didn't say anything. Zhou Jingqing's gaze had already swept over the whole office seriously and sternly. Everyone in the office lowered their heads and didn't dare to speak. The young girl who brought me here even shrank back and lowered her head, but before she lowered her head, she quickly glanced at Lin Man. That's right, in the whole office, the only one who could bully others by relying on the powerful like this. Who else could it be but Lin Man? I forgot to tell everyone that the meeting was cancelled. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, Mr. Zhou. Lin Man pursed her lips and looked up at Zhou Jingqing innocently. Zhou Jingqing had always been indulgent towards her, so this time, he didn't say a word either. Come in. He looked at me and let the matter go. When I passed by Lin Man, I saw the pride and provocation in her eyes. Sit. After entering the office, Zhou Jingqing greeted me as if I were a guest. I looked at the sofa, where there were several cute plush toys piled up. On the cabinet where books used to be placed, there was now a snack rack. The door of the private lounge wasn't closed properly. Through the gap, I could see some women's clothes casually placed at the end of the bed. Zhou Jingqing looked at me with an unreadable look in his eyes. I felt it was inappropriate and withdrew my gaze. What about the agreement? Zhou Jingqing handed me the divorce agreement on the desk while I was looking at it. His gaze was always on me. We've been together for so many years. You won't get less than what you deserve. You can choose the car and the house as you like. If you have other requirements, you can bring them up. Was this compensation? This was the only thought that flashed through my mind. But it didn't affect my reading speed at all. What Zhou Jingqing gave me in the agreement was more than I could squander in several lifetimes. He had always been generous and wouldn't be stingy about such things. No need, that's all. And I just want the villa where I'm living now to be allocated to me, I said. I signed the paper neatly with a pen and then handed it to Zhou Jingqing. It seemed that Zhou Jingqing still had something to say to me, because I saw his mouth open, and then it closed again because of my action. He looked at my action of handing over the paper. It seemed that he couldn't believe that the whole process ended in less than 5 minutes. I stood up. The divorce cooling off period is 1 month. I'll contact you again after 1 month. After that, I turned around and was about to leave. Xinyu, is there anything else? Don't you have anything to say to me? Zhou Jingqing frowned slightly. There seemed to be confusion in his eyes, and his tone was also a disbelieving probe. I looked at him in confusion and saw that he was asking sincerely. After thinking about it, I also seriously asked back, at this moment, you don't expect me to wish you and Lin Man a long and happy marriage and an early birth of a precious child, do you? Although I had let go, I wasn't that generous. The person in front of me was speechless. The way Zhou Jingqing looked at me was like a deep pool, with his emotions unreadable. When I put my hand on the doorknob, his voice came again from behind. Xinyu, after all, I'm sorry to you. I will always be responsible for your mother's medical expenses. Mentioning my mother, I paused in my steps. If there was anyone who was most reluctant for me to divorce Zhou Jingqing, it must be my mother. Zhou Jingqing and I started working hard together when we were 17 years old. In the hardest days, we shared one box of lunch. Zhou Jingqing would pick out all the meat and give it to me. In the cold winter, Zhou Jingqing rode a motorcycle to pick up passengers to save money. He was reluctant to spend money on himself but bought me a ring. Although it's just a plain ring, in the future, I will give you a bigger and brighter diamond. We once lived in a basement of only a few square meters. There was no heating in winter, and we could only hug each other to keep warm when it came to summer, because it was too hot. Zhou Jingqing took me to sleep in the park. My mother saw all of this. She felt sorry for me and sold all her belongings to support Zhou Jingqing's business startup. When Zhou Jingqing earned his first pot of gold, he bought a large flat in the city center, where the temperature was kept constant around the clock. In front of my mother, he swore that he would treat me well for the rest of his life. My mother was so touched that tears welled up in her eyes, and she only said one sentence, "You two must be happy in the future." I once had high hopes and felt that there was something to look forward to in life, but in just 2 or 3 years, everything changed beyond recognition. Zhou Jingqing had an affair. My mother was diagnosed with cancer. The annual treatment cost hundreds of thousands of yuan. If it weren't for Zhou Jingqing's support, I'm afraid I would have lost her long ago. But now, don't bother, thank you. I ended the meeting politely and distantly, opened the door, and left. When I walked out of Zhou Jingqing's company building, Lin Manman's voice came from behind. Ms. Shen, she took a few steps and stood in front of me. She affectedly stroked the hair by her ear. Thank you for letting us be together and leave Qing alone. I saw the bright smile on her face and in her eyes. It was like a victorious winner showing off after a successful battle. You're welcome. I hope you won't end up like me. I smiled faintly. It was a bit of a warning from someone who had been through it. The smile on Lin Manman's face changed slightly, but it quickly returned to normal. How could I be like you've already seen how much Qing loves me, haven't you? She reminded me. She was talking about something that happened a long time ago. At that time, Zhou Jingqing took Lin Manman to a gathering of his brothers. At the gathering, one of Zhou Jingqing's brothers accidentally mentioned the matter between me and Zhou Jingqing. One of them said, once, Brother Jing came back very late from a business trip. Xinyu was sleeping by the flower bed outside waiting for him, and then she was molested by a homeless man. At that time, Lin Manman was nestled in Zhou Jingqing's arms. Upon hearing this, her pretty eyebrows furrowed, and she let out a disgusted isn't that really dirty? I don't know if she was talking about the fact that I slept in the garden or about the fact that I was molested by a homeless man. Anyway, there was a chorus of laughter in the private room. I was standing outside the door at that time. I originally planned to catch them in the act. Unexpectedly, when I heard these words, I felt as if I had fallen into hell, both cold and hot, and suffering. What made me even more immobile was Zhou Jingqing's attitude at that time. He was sitting on the sofa, casually putting his arm around Lin Manman. He remained silent with a faint smile amidst the unrestrained taunts and laughter of the others, his expression disdainful. It was as if they were making fun of an insignificant person, rather than me, whom he had once protected with his sincere heart. And during the final game session, Zhou Jingqing happily swallowed the wine that Lin Manman passed to him with her mouth. Under her coquettish command, he uttered the words, Xinyu, dirty. This should be considered one of Lin Manman's achievements in provoking me. It was obvious that she was very satisfied with this. The smile on her face became even more pronounced. I looked at her and didn't forget to remind her. Then have you forgotten what I did that day? If you can't remember, I don't mind making you experience it again. Lin Manman's face changed instantly. I could tell at a glance that she hadn't forgotten. That night, I stormed into the private room in a fit of rage. I pulled Lin Manman off Zhou Jingqing before anyone could react. I slapped Lin Manman twice with force, and then I grabbed her and pressed her whole body onto the tea table where the wine was placed. What the hell are you laughing at? Is it really that funny? Then do you know what happened to that homeless man later? In a fit of anger, I smashed a wine bottle. Amid the sound of breaking glass, Lin Manman let out a loud scream. I held the sharp end of the bottle above her cheek. I let her tremble with fear under my hand. Just like today, I stabbed him until he was crippled. Sister-in-law, Xinyu. Everyone in the private room didn't dare to breathe. In the end, it was Zhou Jingqing who stopped me. He suddenly blocked me and threw me to the side. Lin Manman cowered behind him with a pale face, looking weak and innocent. Qing, save me. Anger brewed in Zhou Jingqing's eyes. He raised his hand and was about to strike, but he suddenly stopped when he met my bloodshot and resentful gaze. You, Zhou Jingqing, are you afraid to hit me? I dared. In the moment when Zhou Jingqing was stunned, I directly raised my hand and slapped him in the face. I used almost all my strength, because after hitting him, my hand couldn't stop shaking. That was the beginning of my break with Zhou Jingqing. Since that day, Zhou Jingqing had proposed a divorce to me and he moved out of our former home and started living with Lin Manman. Lin Manman dared not provoke me. After all, I was really crazy when I lost my temper. She gave me a resentful look. Now that Qing is divorcing you, do you still dare to be so arrogant? I retorted, that's none of your business. Then I turned around and left. After returning home, I started packing my things. Although I kept this house, I didn't plan to live here for long. Thinking back on the past few years when Zhou Jingqing and I tormented each other, I was immersed in those memories. Now, seeing everything in this house just made me feel that everything had changed beyond recognition. I listed the house for sale at the fastest speed, and I started buying plane tickets. After all, Zhou Jingqing had given me so much money, and I should spend it well. I decided to go out and relax first and come back when I got the divorce certificate. The day before I left, I received a new message. Hello, Ms. Shen, I'm the blogger Time Capsule, your street interview video will be released at 7 p.m. on Sunday. I'd like to confirm one last time, are you really okay with it? Seeing this message, I wasn't surprised. You might not believe it, but the day after I saw the video of Zhou Jingqing and Lin Manman, I was aimlessly wandering the streets. Unexpectedly, I was also interviewed as a passerby during a street interview. It was the same blogger and the same interview question. At that time, I thought it was extremely ridiculous, but it was also amazing how wonderful fate could be. I didn't refuse the interview. Even when I gave my answer, I couldn't help but wonder if Zhou Jingqing saw my video, what kind of mood he would be in. It's okay, you can do as you like, I replied. At the same time, I packed my last item and left with a sense of ease. From Zhou Jingqing's perspective, half a year after separating from Xinyu, Zhou Jingqing received her call for the first time. He thought she was going to harass and curse him unreasonably again, but unexpectedly, Xinyu had changed her usual aggressive and shrewish manner, and her tone was extremely calm. Zhou Jingqing, I agree to the divorce, she told him. Zhou Jingqing frowned subconsciously, and his first reaction was, what divorce? Seeing that he didn't react, Lin Manman beside him reminded him in a low voice. Only then did Zhou Jingqing remember what he had said to Xinyu when he moved out half a year ago. Are you sure? Yeah, if you have time, let's meet and sign the divorce agreement. Xinyu hung up the phone after saying that. The doubt in his heart grew deeper, but before he could think of an answer, Lin Manman reached out and put her arms around his neck. Just now your wife said she agreed to the divorce. Is that true? Yeah, that's great. Now there's no one bothering you. Lin Manman was happier than him and excitedly leaned closer to him. In the past, the young and passionate Lin Manman would have already aroused his desire, but now, Zhou Jingqing couldn't be happy. He didn't really want a divorce from Xinyu at all. He had just been scaring her at that time. Why did Xinyu suddenly agree? Zhou Jingqing couldn't figure it out, but soon he thought, could this be another one of Xinyu's schemes? She was like this, she would say anything to trick him back. Once, he even received a message from Xinyu saying that her mother was seriously ill. He ignored it. After all, a child who lied about the wolf coming wouldn't be able to deceive the villagers for the third time. Zhou Jingqing was determined that Xinyu was lying to him, but then he thought that he hadn't seen Xinyu for half a year. Well, since Xinyu had called, he might as well take this opportunity to see her. Zhou Jingqing asked the lawyer to draw up the divorce agreement and sent a message to Xinyu asking her to come to the company on Monday to sign it. There was a small incident during this time. When Zhou Jingqing was about to send the message, he realized that he had blocked Xinyu. His chat records with Xinyu were still from a few months ago. At that time, Xinyu had found out about him and Lin Manman. In fact, he couldn't even remember what exactly had happened. Anyway, Xinyu had gone crazy and made a big scene at home. He couldn't stand it anymore, so he moved out of the house. But Xinyu didn't give up. She continued to send him messages and long texts to harass and question him. She was like a crazy woman. Once, Xinyu sent a message again, but halfway through, Zhou Jingqing got annoyed and blocked her. After unblocking Xinyu, Zhou Jingqing was really worried that Xinyu would be the same as before, but this time, she only replied with a simple okay. Strange, had she really changed her nature? Twice in a row, Xinyu was like this, and Zhou Jingqing found it really unforgettable, but he also felt a bit emotional. Alas, if only Xinyu had always been well-behaved and didn't cause any trouble. He and Xinyu had gone through thick and thin together. They had built all this from scratch together. Their relationship was naturally extraordinary, but Xinyu was really too selfish and possessive. Since the business startup was successful, Xinyu had been like she was possessed. She didn't allow any other women to appear around him. Was that possible? He was a well-known businessman now. There were definitely a lot of social engagements. At first, he did firmly reject those women, but as time went by, he found that everyone was the same. He had just made a mistake that all men in the world would make, and he was better than those people in that he had only had an affair with one woman. That was Lin Manman. It was Xinyu's relentless pursuit that pushed him further and further away. In the end, he was forced to propose a divorce. If Xinyu had turned a blind eye, they wouldn't have ended up in this situation. Zhou Jingqing thought to himself. After all, he and Xinyu had more than 10 years of relationship. At that time, they shared one box of lunch. She lied that she wasn't hungry so that he could eat more. In the summer, the basement was like a stuffy furnace, making it too hot to sleep. Xinyu fanned him with cool air all night. Later, she even secretly sold the ring he bought for her and bought a small electric fan. He and Xinyu actually had a lot of sweet and shared memories. Zhou Jingqing couldn't bear to let them go, and he was even more convinced that Xinyu couldn't let go of these things either, so he was very certain this time Xinyu's request to meet for the divorce must be some kind of her scheme. How could she be willing to get a divorce? Zhou Jingqing didn't believe it until Monday. When he saw Xinyu, he realized that what she said about agreeing to the divorce was true. Xinyu called his name at that time. He turned around and looked. The first thought that came to his mind was, how could she have become so thin in just half a year? On Xinyu's face, which used to have a bit of flesh, her jawline was now clearly visible. The collarbone on her neck made her figure look even more slender. Hadn't she been eating properly? Zhou Jingqing frowned with concern, and a trace of pity involuntarily appeared in his heart. But before he could ask, Xinyu said that she had been waiting for him to finish the meeting for 2 hours. He hadn't had a meeting at all, but he also knew who had told Xinyu that. The first thing he thought of wasn't to scold Lin Manman but to take a good look at Xinyu. He hadn't seen Xinyu for half a year, even though Xinyu had been pestering him and consuming their relationship over and over again, but Zhou Jingqing still found that the person he loved the most was still her. This kind of love was different from his love for Lin Manman. His feelings for Lin Manman were based on the influence of her young body and hormones, but for Xinyu, he loved and felt sorry for her from the bottom of his heart. We've been together for so many years, you won't get less than what you deserve. You can choose the car and the house as you like. If you have other requirements, you can bring them up. While Xinyu was looking at the divorce agreement, Zhou Jingqing's gaze was fixed on Xinyu. He wanted to take a good look at her. He used the excuse of offering to meet Xinyu's other requirements. In fact, he was hoping that Xinyu's other requirement would be not to get a divorce, but unexpectedly, Xinyu only asked for the house where they used to live. The whole process ended in less than 5 minutes. It couldn't be true. How could she really divorce him? She didn't do anything else. She should have something more to say to him. Zhou Jingqing stared at her, but until Xinyu left, she didn't leave him with a single extra word. Was it really over between him and Xinyu? Zhou Jingqing didn't believe it. He didn't hand over the divorce agreement to the lawyer for a long time. That night, Lin Manman prepared a candlelit dinner to celebrate this. Looking at Lin Manman's smiling face, he only felt extremely annoyed and cold-hearted. Ah Ching, when are we going to get married? Lin Manman propped her chin and asked him with a smile. Before he could answer, Lin Manman had already started dreaming about the wedding on her own. I want to wear the most beautiful wedding dress, and the wedding hall must be filled with flowers. Looking at Lin Manman's shining eyes in the candlelight, what came to his mind was the scene of his marriage to Xinyu that year. At that time, they were in the early days of their business startup, and they were really poor. After Xinyu sold the ring, she didn't have any jewelry. They just spent a few yuan to get the marriage certificate. That night, they happily bought 2 bottles of beer and sat by the river, singing and drinking. At that time, he thought once he had money, he must make up a grand and luxurious wedding for Xinyu, but later, he never did. They only took a small set of wedding photos. He even took half an hour off from work to take those photos. We'll see. He suddenly lost interest and interrupted Lin Manman. Lin Manman's expression froze, and her smile gradually faded as she stared at him. Zhou Jingqing felt annoyed and called his brothers out for a drink. Brother Jing, why didn't you bring your little sister-in-law out? Someone asked in confusion. Since there was Xinyu at home, they addressed Lin Manman as the little sister-in-law. Zhou Jingqing didn't want to answer. Someone leaned close to him and said with a grin, Brother Jing, guess what I came across? It's you and the little sister-in-law. You guys are trending. In his blurry vision, Zhou Jingqing saw the image of himself and Lin Manman on the phone in front of him. For me, I hope Zhou Jingqing 5 years ago could have met Lin Manman earlier. In the video, he said while putting his arm around Lin Manman, what the hell was this? 5 years ago was the happy day when he married Xinyu. He and Xinyu had an extremely good relationship. How could he possibly want to meet Lin Manman? Zhou Jingqing quickly remembered this was a street interview they happened to encounter when he took Lin Manman out shopping one day. He had just said it casually, but this video already had over 100,000 likes. It topped the local popularity chart. If that was the case, wouldn't Xinyu see it? No, he couldn't let Xinyu see it. Xinyu would be angry if she saw it. Zhou Jingqing trembled as he reached out to grab the other person's phone. Who posted this? Tell him to take it down immediately. Hurry up. Everyone was startled by Zhou Jingqing's angry shout. The person who showed him the video quickly and nervously contacted the poster, but as soon as he opened the poster's homepage, he froze. Brother Jing, he posted another one. The added voice was uneasy and cautious. It's your wife's. I only found out that my video had gone viral on the internet after I came back. The blogger Time Capsule sent me a message. He said he didn't expect the video to have such a large amount of traffic and influence. While thanking me, he also hoped to conduct another interview with me. I didn't reply to him. When I opened my phone, I happened to come across a repost by a marketing account. Those who betray true feelings should swallow 1,000 needles. The sky is falling. Guys, how long will the 30 seconds in the library drama continue? The distinctive voice of the marketing account vividly described the whole incident's origin. At 7 p.m. last Sunday, the blogger Time Capsule released his latest street interview video. On the busy street, the blogger randomly selected a passerby for an interview. Miss, if you had the opportunity to talk to yourself 5 years ago, what would you like to say to yourself 5 years ago? In the video, I, who was regarded as a passerby, looked straight into the camera with a cold voice. If I had the opportunity, I would like to say to myself 5 years ago, Xinyu, don't marry Zhou Jingqing, you will regret it. As soon as the video was released, it immediately sparked a heated discussion among netizens. Zhou Jingqing, why does this name sound so familiar? I think so too. I seem to have heard it somewhere. Have you forgotten? The couple the blogger interviewed last time, the guy's name seems to be this. Damn, could it be the same person? There's some juicy gossip. After a short moment of confusion, netizens who smelled the scent of gossip, relying on their keen sense, dug out the relationship between me and Zhou Jingqing. After confirming that the Zhou Jingqing I mentioned was indeed the same Zhou Jingqing who said he hoped to meet Lin Manman earlier to his past self, the netizens exploded. Damn, it really is the same person, so dramatic. Damn, I thought they were a pure love couple. But it turns out the guy is a cheating scumbag with a mistress. Meet earlier. Why don't you just go and die earlier? When you said that, did you ever think about your wife? The little sister is so poor, so tragic. Now the comment section under the video is full of condemnation and abuse towards the two of them. As for me, although I wasn't as extreme, but the messages and calls on my phone were like they had exploded. Apart from those who wanted to get a closer look at the gossip and find out the truth of the matter, there were also messages from some mutual friends of me and Zhou Jingqing. I ignored them, but the only thing that surprised me was, among these overwhelming messages and calls, there was actually no sign of Zhou Jingqing. It was really strange. Now that I had played a trick on him, he didn't make any move at all. I found it unbelievable until I received a call from the real estate agent. Ms. Shen, there's a problem with the sale of your house. Could you please come back and deal with it? I bought a return ticket with confusion. As soon as I got off the car, I saw the real estate agent who had called me a few days ago. When he saw me, he was like seeing a savior. Ms. Shen, you're finally back. It's your husband. When he heard that you were going to sell this house, he flatly refused. The real estate agent briefly told me the situation. I was so angry that I laughed. I knew why Zhou Jingqing hadn't made a move. He was waiting for me here. I'll deal with it. After seeing off the real estate agent, I called Zhou Jingqing. He didn't answer, so I simply went directly to his company. Unlike last time, this time the receptionist didn't even ask and directly invited me upstairs, and the young girl who had received me before this time, she respectfully led me to the door of Zhou Jingqing's office. Mr. Zhou is waiting for you inside. I glanced at her, but it wasn't really her I was looking at. My gaze passed her and landed on Lin Manman in the corner. It seemed that she had been demoted. I remembered that the previous few times I came, her desk was the one closest to Zhou Jingqing's office. When Lin Manman saw me, she couldn't hide the resentment and anger in her eyes. If looks could kill, I had no doubt that she would burn holes all over my body. I ignored her and pushed the door open. The moment I saw the layout of the office, I was even a bit dazed. The traces of Lin Manman had been completely cleared away. It suddenly seemed to have returned to its original appearance. Zhou Jingqing was sitting on the boss's chair behind the desk against the backdrop of the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. His thin figure looked a bit tired and decadent. He seemed particularly lonely. Well, it was understandable during this period. Due to the matter of the trending topic, the stock price of Zhou Jingqing's company had been affected and dropped several points. It would be strange if he wasn't worried, but what did that have to do with me? If I remember correctly, you promised to give me this house. I walked straight up to Zhou Jingqing and asked, hearing my voice. Zhou Jingqing raised his eyes, his gaze deep. You. What do you mean by regret? He answered my question with another question, which made me even more confused, but soon, I understood he was probably asking about what I said in that video. When the blogger asked me, what would you like to say to yourself 5 years ago, my answer was, Xinyu, don't marry Zhou Jingqing, you will regret it. And 5 years ago, when Zhou Jingqing and I got the marriage certificate, he asked me with tears in his eyes, you've suffered by marrying me. Will you regret it? At that time, my answer was, no. Now Zhou Jingqing actually asked me what regret meant. Don't you understand? I couldn't help but find it ridiculous and asked calmly, as if stung by the mockery on my face. Zhou Jingqing's face turned deathly pale. He got up from the chair and walked towards me. Every step seemed a bit difficult, but I have never regretted it. I have never regretted marrying you. How could you regret it? Didn't you say before that you wouldn't regret it? His eyes turned red just like 5 years ago, but this time, I wouldn't be soft-hearted. You also said that was in the past. People change, don't they? Zhou Jingqing was the one who taught me this. Now the boomerang had hit him, so why couldn't he accept it? Zhou Jingqing looked at me with a hurt expression. He seemed to want to find something in my eyes. Not finding it, he shifted his eyes away with a tremble and asked me again, you did all this because you're still angry, right? You still have feelings for me, so you deliberately said those things. You still love me, right? He asked two right questions in a row. His eyes eagerly observed the expression on my face, but I was very calm. I even frowned when I heard his questions. Love, what's that? We were already two people who had signed the divorce agreement. How could there still be any love? Oh, I used to love Zhou Jingqing, but didn't he personally throw that love away? There was mockery in my eyes. I didn't. I didn't. I love you. What I said about the divorce was just out of anger. I never thought of divorcing you. Zhou Jingqing retorted loudly. He suddenly hugged me tightly and repeated it over and over again. He wanted to get a response from me. After all, every time we hugged before, it was extremely powerful, but since Zhou Jingqing got together with Lin Manman, I couldn't remember when the last time I hugged Zhou Jingqing was. Zhou Jingqing didn't get a response from me. He let go of his hands and only saw my cold eyes and expression. Zhou Jingqing started to panic. His hands on my shoulders were trembling and sweating. Xinyu, you can't divorce me. If you dare to divorce me, you won't get a single penny. Also, your mother, I won't give the hospital another penny. She will die. Zhou Jingqing threatened. Although he seemed fierce and cold, he still couldn't hide the tremble and panic in his tone and voice. I raised my eyes and looked straight into his eyes calmly and coldly. Zhou Jingqing, you still don't know, do you? My mother has passed away. During our separation, I sent him a message. Before I could say anything, he blocked me. Zhou Jingqing, your words can't threaten me at all. If I cared about money, I wouldn't have been with you without hesitation when you had nothing, but I still hated him deeply. He had forgotten our relationship. He also forgot how my mother had taken care of him like a son. Zhou Jingqing not only let me down, he also let my mother down. The office was deathly silent. I watched as Zhou Jingqing's already pale face gradually turned gray. The emotions in his eyes seemed to be frozen. Shock, disbelief, incredulity, all kinds of complex emotions were mixed in his eyes. How could it be? He murmured. I reminded him, you haven't visited her for 2 years, so of course you don't know. Poor my mother. She was still thinking about me when she died, and I could only hold back my tears and comfort and deceive her over and over again. I told her that Zhou Jingqing was busy with work and that he would come to see her as soon as he was done. My mother's death wasn't really an accident, it was just that her life force had run out and there was nothing that could be done. I signed the form to give up treatment myself. I held her hand and watched her fall into a quiet sleep and never wake up again. I calmly handled her funeral arrangements alone. After that, I accidentally saw that video of Zhou Jingqing and Lin Manman. I actually always wanted to divorce Zhou Jingqing because I didn't want to watch myself become a crazy person trapped in a relationship, and my mother's death was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Zhou Jingqing, how could you know? From the day you made a mistake and refused to turn back, our relationship had already entered the countdown. Zhou Jingqing's body suddenly swayed. He took 2 steps back and almost couldn't stand up. Looking at him, I didn't forget to remind him, if you have any conscience, let me go. Being with you now, every minute and every second makes me feel extremely suffocated. I left Zhou Jingqing's office. This conversation wasn't very pleasant. It seemed that the atmosphere had seeped out through the cracks. When I came out, everyone didn't dare to breathe, wishing they could bury themselves in the cracks of the ground. The only one who dared to make a move was Lin Manman. She was so angry that she took a few steps and followed me, catching up with my pace. Xinyu, you bitch, are you satisfied now? Destroying Ah Qing, what's the benefit for you? She questioned me, her tone full of unwillingness and a sense of standing up for injustice. When I heard her voice, I just found it annoying, so I slapped Lin Manman across the face with a slap. You idiot, if you had any ability, you could have made him divorce me earlier, then he wouldn't have gotten the reputation of being a cheating scumbag. I mocked. Lin Manman covered her face. I reminded her, also, be polite to me. After all, I'm still not divorced from Zhou Jingqing. Be careful, or I'll ask Zhou Jingqing to get back the money he spent on you. He won't, with the current situation. Do you want to give it a try? I was determined to piss her off. Lin Manman was furious but dared not speak out. She could only glare at me hatefully as I left. Without Zhou Jingqing's obstruction, I sold my house very quickly. I don't know if it was a coincidence. The day I sold the house happened to be the day when the divorce cooling off period between me and Zhou Jingqing expired. After separating from Zhou Jingqing that day, I originally thought he would play some tricks and refuse to get a divorce. Unexpectedly, he actually showed up at the Civil Affairs Bureau. We successfully got the divorce certificate. After that, I rushed to the villa without stopping to sign the house sale contract. With 2 things going smoothly in a row, I finally felt relieved, but as soon as I left, the real estate agent called me again. Ms. Shin, although it's a bit unethical, I still want to tell you something. What is it? Your husband? Oh, no, your ex-husband. He suddenly came right after you left. He grabbed the client who had just bought my house and desperately begged the person to resell the house to him. The client refused. Zhou Jingqing was currently pestering that person. Feeling annoyed, I rushed back to the villa just in time. I saw Zhou Jingqing snatching something from the cleaner. The client who had just signed the contract was already gone, the real estate agent said regretfully. Ms. Shen, you're too late. Your husband was willing to pay 3 times the price to buy it back. Forget it. Anyway, the house wasn't mine anymore. One was willing to offer and the other was willing to accept. I didn't want to meddle in this matter either, but at that moment, I clearly saw what Zhou Jingqing had snatched back from the cleaner. It was the wedding photo that he and I had taken as a supplement back then. Zhou Jingqing, you. When Zhou Jingqing saw me, his eyes lit up. Look, I bought the house back. I'll get all these things back. He couldn't wait to show me, but before he could finish speaking, the car key in my hand had already scratched towards the wedding photo behind him. With a sizzle sound, I tore off my own photo. Zhou Jingqing opened his eyes in surprise, his face turning pale. He looked at me with sadness and grief, and tears in his eyes fell unexpectedly. I had a cold expression. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the villa, I saw this scene reflected on the glass. I suddenly felt it was very familiar. Of course it was familiar. Once upon a time, I had also humbly begged Zhou Jingqing to turn back, and now it was truly the cycle of heaven, and retribution would always come. Don't flatter yourself, Zhou Jingqing. You just make me feel extremely disgusted like this. Aren't you annoying? After that day, my life returned to peace. Although I was alone, having detached myself from the past, it was like the dark clouds pressing above my head had suddenly dispersed, and the moon emerged from the clouds. Every day was sunny. A week later, I met Zhou Jingqing again. It was in a bar. After the divorce, he got drunk day and night, and our mutual friends kept sending messages and calling me to persuade us to reconcile. I blocked every single one of them. In the end, the world was finally quiet. That accidental encounter. Zhou Jingqing was drinking again. Lin Manman suddenly appeared. Ah Ching. She quickly supported the drunk Zhou Jingqing. I've been looking for you for a long time. Where have you been? Woo-woo. I was so scared. You know, Lin Manman was crying and sniveling. Stop doing this for that woman. It's not worth it. Ah Ching. Let's go back. You still have me. He's taking a shower. If you have anything to say, you can just tell me. Zhou Jingqing forcefully shook off Lin Manman. She's my wife. I only want her. Do I want you, a mistress? I don't know which word stimulated Lin Manman. She stood there in disbelief, frozen. This was the last time I saw the two of them. Later on, I heard the news that Lin Manman had been fired by Zhou Jingqing. Not only that, Zhou Jingqing also got back every penny he had spent on Lin Manman. Lin Manman didn't expect Zhou Jingqing to be so heartless, and finally left in resentment. But 3 months later, I received a call from the police asking me to identify a body. He said that there had been a homicide case in the villa that I had sold before. The deceased were exactly my ex-husband and Lin Manman. Zhou Jingqing had no parents. The only person with a close connection to him in this world was me. Hearing this news, I felt a bit sad and sighing, but in the end, I still stepped forward and handled his funeral arrangements. Then, I scattered his ashes into the mountains and the sea. There was no trace of him anymore. The end.